Administrative Unit Number 12 School Board and Londonderry School District School Board meeting to order. I would like to ask Mr. Jason Parent to lead us in Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
For members of the audience and the viewing audience, this is our reorganization meeting, and as per protocol, the superintendent chairs the meeting until there is an election of a chairperson. The process will be as follows. We will open the floor for nomination of the chairperson. We will accept a nomination and ask for a second. We'll then call for discussion and call for a vote. If the nomination fails to achieve a required majority, which is 3, I will open the floor again for a nomination and repeat the process. Everyone understand? Okay. Do I have a nomination? Mr. Campo.
Mr. Superintendent, I nominate Steve Young for chairman.
Second.
Second by George Herman. Discussion. Seeing none, call for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries 5-0. Congratulations, Mr. Young. And I now pass you the gavel and go hide on my side of the table.
I'd like to open the floor for a nomination of vice chair this evening. We have a nomination for vice chair. Dan?
I'd like to nominate Ron Campo for vice chair.
Second?
A second.
Second with George. Discussion. Seeing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? 5-0. Get their tags back then?
Guys, we have a...
Move you if you want. Is everybody comfortable? For those of you students in the audience, it's a little confusing this evening, but thank you for your patience. We need to go to appointments of 2 other positions, and then we'll go into adopting our policies and regulations as they exist today. We need to appoint an attendance officer. And Nate, you have a candidate
Yes,
for that?
we are recommending that Maureen Van Scoten, who is a student resource officer, we recommend her appointment as the attendance officer, previously held by Detective Mark Bigger.
So move.
Second.
You have a first and a second. Discussion on the board. Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 5-0.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion we nominate Mary Soers as secretary to the board.
Second.
We have a first and a second. Any discussion?
Very nice job with the minutes. Thank you very much.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? 5-0. Nate, if you wouldn't mind, just historically, why do we go through those appointments every year?
Because of board reorganization, we have to reappoint, their terms are concurrent with the terms of the board, so that's why we do it at this point.
The next item on the agenda is to readopt the current policies and regulations.
So moved.
Second.
First and a second. Discussion on the board. The only thing I'll add to this, for those that aren't aware in the public, the school board operates on a policies book that's probably 4 or more inches thick. We're each issued when we join the board, and we have items that come up from time to time where those get changed and modified, and we'll have some of those this meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Passes 5-0. Okay. The next item we're going to step over just for a moment and move on to recognition of male scholar athletes. Nate, you have someone who's doing a
Yes,
presentation?
Mr. Parent and Mrs. Vigu will be doing the honors and calling the students up. And if members of the board would like to participate, we have some things of recognition for the boys.
Good evening. The 7th Annual Male Scholar Athlete Day was held on the campus of Plymouth State University on Monday, March 20th, and was hosted by the New Hampshire Athletic Directors Association and the New Hampshire Interscholastic Athletic Association. The honorees were nominated by their athletic directors if they were a high school senior in New Hampshire, participated in at least 2 NHIAA recognized sports in their high school years, participated in sports as a senior, maintained at least a B+ average, and were considered to be a positive role model and participated in community service activities. The student athletes are seated behind me are some of our finest in the school, and they represent Londonderry very well, both in the classroom and on the playing fields. And Ms. Vigu will introduce them.
And we'd like to take the time to congratulate Jeff Anderson, Steve Bintz, Joe Curro, Della Grata, William Keller, Heath Love, Anthony Marino, Kyle Nichols, Brendan Post, Anthony Rourke, Jonathan Sproul, Timothy Sullivan, Pat Witherell, and B.J. Worth. If you gentlemen would please come forward.
Oh, we're running out.
Congratulations, fellas. Congratulations.
Yes, you guys.
Oh, don't go anywhere yet.
Steve's
See, this is the, yeah.
This ain't gonna happen.
Oh, don't leave, guys, see. We go to about 11, you guys don't mind, right? Wait, this is where you all get, this is where you... I guess I didn't work, get elected as chair, so,
Not the gift, they leave.
this is where you all get to look at each other and decide who's going to be the spokesperson. If you wouldn't mind, I'd like one of you to just come forward and talk briefly about being a scholar and an athlete.
Carol's gonna do it.
I don't know, they're all looking at Keith.
Keith.
Yeah, I think Keith's doing it, because Keith keeps shaking his head no.
They keep looking at you,
If you don't mind, just come up to the microphone, Keith, thank you.
That's stressed.
And so just so you're aware, the question, Keith, is just let us know about being a scholar and an athlete and what it means to all of those guys back there that didn't have the nerve to come up.
Sure. Well, just as you probably know, it's definitely a lot more work being both, doing well in both school and performing well in sports. It's greater stress on your time. You have to, better time management, all that, and it's great for us to be recognized, for the extra effort that we put forth, doing a little more, a little above and beyond what everyone else does in the school. So we're just appreciative of that, I guess, and that's all.
All right, thank you, Keith.
Yep.
Mr. Chair. Mr. Chairman, if I could, just for a moment, I also want to acknowledge that Keith is also Londonderry's newest Eagle Scout. So Keith, congratulations.
Great, thank you, guys. And you really don't need to stay till 11, but we have another award this evening for one of your classmates. Nate, do you have someone that's
Yes.
doing a presentation?
We'd like to recognize Whitney Leonard. Whitney received the Good Citizen Award from the Daughters of the American Revolution, and we'd like to ask Whitney to explain what qualified her for that. Since I lost my notes.
Let's see. Actually, I have it with me.
Oh, she has her notes.
It's being a good citizen, being involved in community service, being helpful. I don't remember all of them. I'm going to the ceremony this Friday with Mr. Dolphin. So I think it's in here. Maybe. It is. Okay. Let's see. For being dependable, patriotic, community service oriented, and a good leader. I had to, by being selected for my school, I received a $50 bond, and then I also applied for the scholarship, which I'm competing with students, girls from all over the state. Mr. Dolphin and Mr. Salidas and my parents and I are going up to a conference there's a luncheon and a tour of the State House this Friday, so we'll be up there, and I'm very excited.
Good luck.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Whitney, if you
Thank
don't
you.
mind, I'm going to ask you, even though you sit with us every night till 11 or so, if you would come up and just shake the hands of the board, we'd appreciate it.
You can come this way.
We're all
Those that were off camera, Whitney wasn't really there.
They're running away.
For those of you that couldn't hear off microphone there, Whitney apologized for being slightly late tonight because she was tutoring someone.
Sorry.
So I think the examples continue. Next on the agenda, announcements for meetings. On the following dates, for those of you that like to plan ahead, March 30th at 6 p.m., we'll have a non-public session in the district office in the old boardroom next door. April 4th at 7 o'clock. April 18th at 7 o'clock. May 2nd at 7 o'clock. May 16th at 7 o'clock. May 30th at 7 o'clock. June 13th at 7, and July 11th at 7. And those are all regular meetings which are held here in the town offices in the Moose Hill Conference Room. I know Reed will be at all of them. So, do you like to speak? You can come forward.
I missed the first 8 minutes. I apologize, please. Could you run through in about 7 seconds what you did from 3 to 3?
The beginning of the meeting was run by Nate Greenberg, and he spent more time than he wanted to, I think, at that. The board, I have to go through who, I think Ron Campo nominated Steve Young to speak with myself in the third person as chair. It was seconded by George. I then took the gavel, and a nomination came for vice chair as Ron Campo. The nomination came from Dan Beaver and was seconded by George again. The attendance officer is Maureen, and Maureen Van Scooten. as she's our existing student resource officer. She replaced the previous attendance officer, Detective Mark Bigger, and school board secretary, after compliments, I believe, from Ron, was reappointed as Mary Wingsource.
Thank you.
And we have a consent agenda.
So move.
Mr. Chairman?
Yep, Paul? And I have a first and
I'll second.
a second from Dan. Discussion, Paul?
Yes, I wonder if Linda could come forward to read the letter of resignation, or I'm sorry, the letter of retirement from Peggy Ames, who is a South School teacher.
Dated March 13th, 2006. Dear Nate, I am lucky. I am a teacher and I love it. I am lucky also because I have taught at South School. There is nothing more satisfying than loving what you do every day. Give me a corner of a room and let me teach reading and math to elementary students, and I am happy. I am lucky because I had the opportunity to work with colleagues who are the best of the best in Londonderry. This is not prejudice, this is truth. Now I have decided that it is time for a new chapter in my life. I will be retiring from the Londonderry School District as of June 2006. It is a bit scary knowing how much I will miss everyone, but for some reason, I know it is the right time. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for leading the way to make teaching in Londonderry one of the most wonderful parts of my life. Sincerely, Margaret B. Ames.
Thank you, Linda. I asked Linda to read that because I wanted the public to know that school board members get copies of these letters when teachers retire. And I'm always struck by how positive they are, what they have to say about their experience. I think it's a testament to the staff, to the hiring that's done in the district, to the administration in the schools, to Nate's leadership. It always makes me very proud, and I think it's something that the public ought to be aware of. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ron?
Also in this retirement, we have Lou Gratian is retiring after many years at Londonderry High School. Lou has been the advisor to the yearbook for many years, and he's the one has made the yearbook one of the best yearbooks in the state. Excellent teacher, tennis coach. He's done a lot of stuff for the district, and the district's going to miss him also. And also in the retirement is Arthur Martin, a custodian at the middle school, and he has been there a long time, doing a wonderful job. So today's kind of a sad day for the board to see these three people leave. However, we wish them well in their retirement. They all deserve for the future, and we wish them well in the future.
Dan?
We could probably speak about each of these individuals as we've all had children go through, and as Ron said, it's always sad to see them move on, and we wish them well. But one that I would like to acknowledge, she's only been with us about 6 or 7 years, but her efforts outside the school are indicative of many of our educators. Paula Ray. She, after Coach K, for many years headed up our venture program and actually successfully helped a number of students outside the classroom in a setting, and it's quite the challenge going up into the mountains and hiking through 6 feet of snow and actually trying to develop a program to assist children in problem solving and things of that nature on some really aggressive discipline and programs. And Paula took over that, if I'm not mistaken, from Coach K, and we wish her well. And for the administrators at the high school that's sitting back there, there was a time when Coach K left that we were looking to forego the venture program, and I'd certainly like to see that program continue. And it's probably a challenge to get somebody who puts that time and effort in outside the classroom, but I know a lot of our administrators do that, and enough's not said for those efforts, not only in the classroom but outside as well. We can speak to all of them, and we see them this time of year, and we're sorry to see them go, but we wish them well. Thank you, Steve.
Super. Nate, further discussion?
Not on resignations, I'm sorry, I meant to say something on the questions and announcements. Although the news is a couple of weeks old, I think it's very important that we mention this at a public board meeting. I want to congratulate the South School staff. South School has been selected as one of the finalists for Elementary School of the Year. They'll be having a visit later on this month, and we're sure if justice is served, when we go to the Eddies, they'll get their bell. So we want to congratulate South School for everything.
Further discussion? Seeing none, we have a first and second on the consent agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? 5-0. Whitney.
Okay.
Oh, we can let Barbara go first. She's
Yeah,
ready.
go ahead. I'm just making sure I have everything, so.
That's great.
I
Barbara and me, teacher rep.
I have sort of a collection of some things. Some things have happened already. I missed the February 21st meeting, I think. But because people sent them to me, so bear with me, I think it bears recognition, and Mary, I'll give them to you afterwards. Pat Slozak had written to me from Matthew Thornton to say that the fourth grade students were enjoying the new social studies program. They're finding it a bit of a challenge, but are making nice progress. And Dollars for Scholars had just finished their annual collection of 100 pennies from students to go into their class account for distribution as scholarships when the students are seniors. Dollars for Scholars will match the highest amount collected this year to be added to that class's fund. Many students are involved in Summit, an at-home math program that gives the students time to compete for incentives from local businesses. The first came from Movie Scene and gave the students a free rental after completion of the math activities for the month. And February's genre for books and beyond was biographies, and the students have had much fun learning about famous people that have contributed to society. They're also looking at making presidential campaign posters of the subjects in their books in Mrs. Slozak's class. And Joanne McGee wrote also back in February that the first grade at Matthew Thornton was very busy with 100th day activities, February 15th. Each teacher prepared an activity, and the children got to visit with each teacher and participate in that activity for 15 minutes. Some of the activities were making a 100s chart, stamping 10 pictures into 10 groups, dancing 100 steps, making 100-day glasses, and counting 100 pieces of a snack during snack time. For Valentine's Day, the parents of Mrs. McGee's first grade were invited to a computer slideshow. Each child put together a Valentine picture in KidPix, then inserted it into iMovie. They recorded their voices and gave each parent a special "I love you because" message. The children then served their guests ice cream sundaes. Mr. Dolphin at the high school had written about the articulation agreement with Franklin Pierce, and I know that was in the minutes from last board meeting. And also that he's been approached by Fitchburg State College and St. Lawrence University to do the same. Riviera and Daniel Webster are on the horizon. There was a parent program for the Bridges program held back in February, and that allows our seniors to enroll full-time or part-time at the Community Technical College, and 3 students are enrolled in the class of '06. From the middle school, Betsy Dormant. The 6th grade monsoon team worked in English class with the new Alpha Smart Neos for a week and a half. These were being used to create a monsoon book full of students' writings. We set up our own publishing company in the classroom and had the kids work in different departments. The project was exciting, and the kids were thoroughly engaged in creating their own book. Again, in February, Moose Hill had just completed Volunteer Appreciation Week. We appreciate all the things our volunteers do to assist our staff. They make wonderful things happen for the students of Moose Hill School by giving time and talents. And Moose Hill celebrated its 100th day of school on February 22nd. And in preparation for the 100th day, students have been collecting food items for the Sunshine Soup Kitchen. The goal was 100 items for each kindergarten classroom. We're happy to announce that each classroom met or exceeded its goal, and they sent over 1,000 items to the soup kitchen in Derry. Liz Juster emailed me, and I will just update and say that Steve Juster's doing very well. He's back in the building and says he felt fine all along. So,
He does teach science fiction.
that's right. Right. And Liz had emailed that as of February, she's the new vice president of New Hampshire Council of Teachers of English. I think that was before the crisis. And then I had an email from Karen McDonald and also Kelly Jaguar and also Vicki Stickney, which all dealt with the same issue. Festival for Youth, which is at the high school, yesterday went to the senior center to play games, cards, etc. with the senior citizens from 2:30 to 4. And then they also were involved just last week, I think, with a visit to Sarah Blanche's first grade class at Matthew Thornton. I'm sorry, they went on March 9th in honor of Read Across America Week. The Festival for Youth students read Dr. Seuss books with the first graders, and each first grade student received his or her own Dr. Seuss book to keep. Several books were also donated to Mrs. Blanche's classroom library. Vicki Stickney's just said this was a very special treat for the 21 students from Mrs. Jaguar's high school class to come to see their buddies in Mrs. Blanche's first grade class. Everyone was excited and they had a wonderful time reading together. Brian Quartermanch emailed me that in civics class at the high school, which is a junior required class, he did a mock town meeting. I know a number of the other civics classes have done it too. But David Karen is coming in from the town side to talk about budget and Londonderry issues. And this was probably said before, but I did want to make sure that Marcia Connor's award for New Hampshire Educator, I know she was acknowledged by the board, but she did tell me that it was a wonderful experience. It refreshed her spirit as an art educator and gave her new ideas and to continue with best practices. And that's it.
Though this is several weeks old because we haven't had a meeting, I haven't come to a meeting where I've done a report in a while, is the February's Lancer Spirit. There's actually an article about Mrs. Me in there, if you want to look for it. I don't remember what page it's on.
We get autographs?
But,
Sure.
First of all, Student Council has organized a school supplies drive for Iraq for, I think, next week. We've been putting posters up. Heather Robinson has done a great job. She was head of the committee that organized it. So we're hoping that will be a success. The band has been very busy, as most of you know, as I've seen you at events. We performed at the Manchester Monarchs on Saturday the 11th. No one fell this year on the ice, which was great. Every year somebody falls, and this year no one fell. But I did see Mr. Herman and Mr. Young there, and I've heard that Mr. Greenberg was there, but I didn't see him there. But
We'll
I should-
discuss that in a moment. He had different seats than we did.
Oh, yeah, you guys were.
I was right behind.
Please continue.
Following that, on St. Patrick's Day, we were down in New York City. We performed in their St. Patrick's Day parade, and again, for the second year in a row, we got first place in the large band class. They announced that over the announcements a couple days ago. And then that Sunday in Manchester, we marched in Manchester's St. Patrick's Day parade. And in less than a month, we're leaving for Orlando, where we will be there for a week over April vacation, and we're performing for the Magic Kingdom Light Show Parade one night, and 2 days later at Islands of Adventure. So we have 2 performances while we're down there. The district choral concert was last Wednesday, and I've heard that was a great success. It's really great to be able to get the elementary school and the high school, or the middle school and the high school all together to hear what we've all done. So I heard that was great. The Bandorama is tomorrow at 7. Let's see, all sports teams are gearing up for the season. They've been announcing tryouts and practices for the past couple weeks. And finally, news from Mr. Nee's class. He asked me to tell you guys about this. We're working on a project about making Londonderry more environmentally friendly and a more sustainable community. There's 9 kids in the class, and each student has taken a different role, as in like food or public transportation or personal transportation, space heating, water heating, and we're putting together a presentation with research, voice overlays using iTunes and all the technology that the school has to offer, and putting together a presentation and hoping to get it out into the town. So that is our future goal. But Mr. Nee wanted me to let you know that. So that's it.
George?
Thank you. Whitney, you're always a very difficult act to follow. You guys are
Thank you.
doing all this great stuff.
Thank you.
Actually, the past few weeks, the planning board has been focused mostly on the TIF district, and Steve, I think you're gonna talk about that. Obviously, town meeting was March the 18th, and that's about it from me.
There's no curriculum meeting this month, but I do want to ask Mark a couple questions on curriculum, if you could step up for a minute. I wasn't at the PTSA meeting, and I don't know that anybody else in the room here was, due to the TIF meeting attendance, but we'll catch up on that next month. And Steve, I wanted to ask, tonight there is a forum, a public forum in Derry, sponsored by the community, I think it's the Community Alliance for Teen Safety. I think it's one of about 17 such forums going on tonight across the state, and many such forums across the country to spotlight the concerns about underage drinking. And I wonder if we could, I understand that Mr. Torch and Mr. Salatis were going to attend that, and I wanted to ask if we could check with Mr. Torch afterwards to see if he would have information of value to share with the board in the next few weeks. I think this forum is going to lead to a state level meeting to summarize the content and resolutions of these forums going on now. And knowing that this is a topic of a lot of interest to folks in town, then I'd suggest something like that.
So Nate's taking a note on that, so I'm sure that can be worked on.
The other thing I wanted to draw a little quick attention to is in our package, Mark included some information on what the teachers were doing during early release schedule, what their schedule was, early release day on the 22nd, and also during teacher workshops on the 17th. At the high school, there were workshops called things like strategies for thinking, modeling your thinking, and constructing meaning through video. And in the middle school, they were focusing on different aspects of differentiation. I wanted to ask you, Mark, how do those topics get established, get created, and determined?
Well, particularly those activities, differentiation has been a topic that's part of our strategic plan, that's been a focus at our middle school. You know, working with Andy and Linda, that's a topic that we felt needed to get back on the forefront as far as additional professional development and training. It had been a while since we had done some training in that area. At the high school level, those topics that you that was in your packet, those pretty much go back to the high school literacy team's effort. In fact, 2 of those sessions were put on by teachers of the high school literacy team that went out west this past summer. The video topic was a joint effort between the curriculum coordinators at the high school and the library media folks. Gail March was involved on how effectively to use different kinds of media in the classroom, and that had just kind of surfaced from just observations in the classroom that thought that this training would be beneficial to teachers.
And do the participants get a chance to give you feedback on how well those meetings, those workshops go?
In varying forms. They do inform the coordinators and the administrators of how various workshops go, not only within a building, but even district-wide workshops that we've had throughout the year.
Good, okay. I just want to mention that when I read through the package, and especially the descriptive paragraphs on what's behind some of these workshops, I was struck by the fact that in these workshops, particularly at the high school, there's what it appears is they're trying to attempt is to understand how students learn, how they think, or what the obstacles are to learning and thinking about the topics in the classes. It was impressive to me that they're taking this extra step. I think there's a pollination related to the literacy initiative that we're involved in, but the effort that the faculty is making to not just teach, but to try to understand, is the message getting through? Are we delivering? Is that message being accepted and understood? And if not, what are some of the reasons that might be happening? Very impressed with this set of subjects, Mark. I'd be interested in hearing some feedback on how that all went. Thank you.
Anything else?
That's all, thanks.
Rob?
I'm going to do a little differently. I don't have anything to report, but I'd like Susie Swenson to come up and let us know how the job fair turned out. I mean, she has run this for several years now. It's been very successful. She was one of the first districts to do it in New Hampshire, and it benefits us tremendously, and the turnout turns out to be excellent for us. Go ahead, Susie.
Yes, thank you. I always love to promote. Yes. This was our sixth job fair and sixth year, and we're really getting it down to a science now. We're we're probably the only school district that when someone applies, they fill in a time slot. They go online and they fill in a time slot. So when they come, they have an interview time, so they don't have to wait for more than 5 minutes to be interviewed. And I would like to think we had some great interviewers, and we really put them to work. I'll tell you, they start out, and they have 15 minutes, and we keep them on time because they can get to talking. So I would like to thank Bess Arnold, Sue Ballard, Connie Bedrisky, Mark Blunt, Catherine Bosiak, Kim Carpinoni, Andy Corey, Mike Dolphin, Donna Dyer, Jim Elefante, Cindy Freiberger, Linda Martin, Wendy Hastings, Jason Parent, Art Salidas, Blake Richards, and Judy Vahue. Without them, we couldn't have done it. And then my two, Melissa Thompson, she is our recruitment specialist. And I know if I'm not supposed to say it this way, but she worked her butt off, I'll tell you. I can't put it any better than that. The work that goes into it, and she coordinated it, and the hours and all this was just amazing. Cindy McMahon and Bev Robichaud show up, and we support Melissa, but she's the one behind it, and she really, really works hard to get it off. And we had great candidates. We had 170 slots, 170 candidates, and I think the middle school was very pleased. I think there's a few that they're going to continue on and interview further. So it's a lot of work, but it's great success. Thank you.
I'm going to ask Sue Ballard next to come up and talk about the computer program. One of the things that we've run is a free program in the past of a one-day, and one of the comments that I've gotten back as a school board member is, boy, you should do something long-term, and even if we have to fund this here or pay for it to attend these classes, and I think this is going to be starting in May.
May 1st.
Go ahead.
Well, as Mr. Campo has alluded to, for a number of years, we've offered some free workshops on using technology to the members of the Londonderry community, and as Ron has mentioned, people have wanted to go further than kind of the baseline workshops that we can provide. So beginning on May 1st at Londonderry High School, Lynn McDonald will be providing more comprehensive coursework on a variety of topics, including Microsoft products, Office, She'll be looking at using Excel, using PowerPoint, and we will be getting information out to the community very shortly. We have a brochure that we're preparing that people can either pick up at a number of locations that we will announce on Leo 21 and WLLO, and on our website. They can also download the sign-up brochure from the website, and we'll be getting some information out in the form of a couple ads in the Londonderry Times to inform people of exactly what we're going into. And we expect that, in fact, I am told that people are already waiting to sign up, just waiting to have the information in hand. So we're looking forward to a kind of new partnership with the Knowledge Tree to deliver the content, and we think it will bring adult ed a different level here in Londonderry, more of a community-based approach.
Thank you.
Excuse me, Ron?
Yeah.
Just before Sue goes away, do you want to mention the website award
Oh,
that under Sue's leadership,
Well done.
district was able to attain?
Okay. I apologize, I'm drawing a blank right now.
We can let Sue talk.
I will be happy to tell you.
Yes.
We were very pleased that in the New Hampshire web site award contest that's held annually, our website received the third place best government site. And that was really quite remarkable because the first place went to the Manchester Airport and second place went to the New Hampshire Health Network, I believe, both commercially developed sites. And the nice comments that the judges gave us was that our community could come to our website and find great information about their schools. And as Mr. Young pointed out, content is everything. That's what we wanted. We may not be as slick as some of the other sites, but we have good content and good information, and that's important. So we are now proudly displaying a little logo on our website as the third place winner in that category. So that was exciting.
Congratulations, Sue.
Thanks. Oh, also, if I might, we also
Miss
just, one more
Dan,
thing before I leave.
Dan, do you have any questions?
I just wanted to say,
I'm going to let Sue answer them for me.
Londonderry
go with the
Middle
microphone.
School, at Londonderry Middle School last Friday, we were very pleased to host a visit from Congressman Jeb Bradley, who had come to visit with Bob McClellan's students, who I guess knocked him for a loop with their incredible questioning. They asked some very tough questions, and he was very impressed with them. And he also took the opportunity to see how Londonderry has leveraged some Title $5 over the past several years, and we got the Alpha Smart Neo labs at the middle school, so he was able to go into classrooms and see how kids and teachers are using that technology. So that was kind of a nice day for us.
Excellent.
Sue. Anything else, Dan?
Well, I did have some, but anything else, Ron?
I'm all set.
Oh, you're all set. I'm not going to call anybody up here. Real quick, one thing Sue didn't mention is under her leadership, there's a tech committee that Ron and I participate in. And again, we're right on the edge of submitting our plan this year again to the state. And I know I mentioned it to the board before, but the state has used our plan as a model to provide to other districts. And it's unbelievable, the work. We sit on the tech meeting and we show up every meeting for a couple hours, but Sue and her staff do a plethora of work, or a yeoman's job behind the scenes. And there's a number of people, and the list is too lengthy to mention, but I believe that's input by a number of your staff, and congratulations again on that. We do have to do some proofing on it, but it's soon to be submitted. Real quick, I won't call Rich up, but there's a ice cream social tomorrow night at the North School building committee meeting. It's winding down. Well, not winding down. We have a little bit left to go, but the children are in those classrooms, and it's open to all, is it not, Rich? And there is some ice cream. I don't know if Rich is scooping it out or not, but I know he'll be eating some of it along with us. But that's tomorrow night at 6 o'clock at North School. And one thing I'd like not to gloss over, but Steve and I are sit on the vocational committee. And we had a meeting 3 weeks ago or so. And one thing as a district that I think, if you go back and look the last several years, we've done a great job on, is putting in different curricula offering across the spectrum for children of all abilities. Due to cost considerations, space considerations, some partnership considerations with other schools, I still think we need to do some more work on the vocational offerings to students that are interested in those fields. And the committee is coming up with a number of ideas, suggestions. We've progressed along considerably through Nate and Mike Dolphin and a few others' leadership on that committee, Jim, and we're making headway, but there'll be more to come on that because I'd like to get that, Nate, on a more repetitive basis. We did come up with some things that we were going to follow up with, and I just think, Steve, that that's one that just as a singular board member, I think we can do a little bit more effort in. We thought we had some great situation lined up with Alvern, but they're trying to hire, if I'm not mistaken, a full-time coordinator or some such thing. So it's a monetary issue on Alvern that's put us a little behind the eight ball on that.
We are.
Is that not my
Yes,
understanding?
and
Okay.
we're negotiating with another
Right.
vocational center to be able to offer those opportunities.
So I'm not painting a bleak picture, I'm painting a positive picture. There's some good work that's being done there, and hopefully we can progress on that side of it. Not forgetting the others either, there's always work to be done, but thank you, Steve, that's it for me.
Paul, you want to add something?
Just to add to what Dan is saying, tonight I believe Mike Dolphin is representing Londonderry at an advisory board meeting for the Manchester School of Technology that is proposing a significant increase and upgrade of their facilities, the first one in 25 years. And we being a sending school there, we're an important supporter and advocate for that, and he'll be attending that, helping that. I think it's something in the neighborhood of $6 to $10 million we're talking about. That could pay dividends down the road for sure for ourselves as well as other school districts. So I want to mention that, that's in the works. It involves matching funding with the feds. And I'll also take the opportunity to say that Adrian Haslauer, who's a senior at the high school here, was offered and accepted the first manufacturing internship from the Southern New Hampshire School District and Southern New Hampshire High-Tech Manufacturing Business Partnership that was kicked off this spring, about 5 or 6 internships. And he just started working in Nashville at BAE Systems 2 weeks ago, and I understand he's doing well and enjoying it. So, thank you.
Good news?
All set, Dan?
Yep, thanks, Steve.
All right. The Sue Ballard, not for lack of communications, did postpone the communications meeting this month, and so we didn't hold it, but obviously we've had conversations here about different activities in that area. The Matthew Thornton PTA, I was in another business meeting, but I was lucky enough that Carol was actually out of the country, so I was able to play hooky, and she didn't find out until tonight when I told her. The TIF hearing, I'd just like to mention that there was a TIF hearing that was held in our old boardroom, and that was held on a Wednesday several weeks ago. And the next TIF hearing will be Thursday night in this room of this week, and as I understand it, that's the final hearing on the TIF district. So if you'd like to speak or communicate on that, you should definitely come down to that meeting. And the people I'm motioning to, it appears we have 2 liaisons tonight, and we appreciate that. We have both Joe Paradise and Marty Bove, who are joining us this evening. He's always in our meetings. He hasn't missed a single one unless he's out of the community. I'm referring to Reed Page Clark for everyone that isn't aware. The comment on the TIF meeting that was held in the room next door, I know that I spoke at that meeting on some of my concerns for the TIF district. Dan spent quite a bit of time speaking, and former board member and board chair Ben Parker, now state representative, spoke eloquently for quite a bit of time. He jumped to the microphone many, many times. If you get an opportunity to catch the reruns, I expect they'll be rerunning at least until Thursday this week, maybe a little bit longer on the cable system. But be sure to show up on Thursday for that meeting. Dan, did you want to say anything at all about the TIF? Or?
I just wanted to alert the council representatives, the board has a conflict that evening, so we'll probably be running a little late if it's still going on. We're tied up from about 6 to 8.
Yeah, I did.
It's at about seven-ish timeframe is gonna start.
Yeah, unfortunately, I did email the new chair and indicated to him that we had a conflict with a non-public session, although we will be on campus, so we will be able to run over at the conclusion of that meeting. We just don't know how long it'll run.
There is one before it, so it may take a little time.
Okay. We'll do our best. I think we recognized the importance of making sure that we're represented on that. I'd like to thank the community, specifically those members that wrote last week and called last week to the senators at the State House. I know that Tom Dolan spent some time on the phone and did some emails. There's many others in the community that sent out emails and called Senator Letourneau, and I would also like to thank Senator Letourneau and Senator Odell. Senator Odell is of Claremont. Senator Letourneau is of Derry, and both of these individuals were really what we could call the swing vote on a constitutional amendment to make the issue of school funding go away. And it only was not voted on by one vote. So it wasn't a situation where it lost by one vote or won by one vote, but it was not voted on. And it was just because they were missing one vote that they needed. They needed 60% of the Senate to vote in the affirmative on it, and then it would have gone to the House. If the House voted in the affirmative at 60%, it would have gone to the citizens of New Hampshire, and that would have changed the Constitution. And the whole concept of this was so that if they changed the Constitution, they would not have to be held accountable for the school funding, as the people of Claremont have forced in the past years, and those members in the New Hampshire Communities for Adequate Funding of Education, which include Londonderry and Merrimack as leadership, were able to do in our win in the Superior Court about a month ago. The state has yet to appeal to the Supreme Court. Their deadline is approximately the 6th or 7th of next month. For updates, you can go to NHCAFE or nhcafe.org to find out where we stand on that. The organization has written an open letter to the Senate, the legislature, and the governor, asking them not to go through with an appeal on this, to sit down at the table and to work with those interested in finding a solution to school funding here in New Hampshire. And our hope is that we can save some money for all of the taxpayers in New Hampshire on that and just solve that problem once and for all. There's an NH Cafe meeting. Nate, do you have the date? The 6th?
I believe it's the 6th. If it's
The 6th of next month. There's a organizational meeting which will be held in the middle school. You can find out details for that organizational meeting, once again, at that site, nhcafe.org. And we've got quite a few people that have already confirmed that they're coming to that event. At that meeting, the board will be formally put together. Presently, we have an executive committee serving, which includes Nate, myself, Marge Chaffrey, the superintendent of Merrimack, and Rose. Okay, and Nate, I know Rose, I talk with her and email her constantly, and she has 2 last names, but her name's also on the website. Nate, Rose, and Marge, myself, sat down and wrote letters personally to all of the legislators and sent them out. We each hand wrote about 100 letters each to ask them not to carry on with this at the Supreme Court. Only other announcement I have is if the board would just consider the committees that they're working on as liaisons. We've heard several reports tonight, as if you sit through these meetings, you know that we have quite a few, and I'd like to bring that up at the next meeting to take a look at, should we make any changes? Would somebody like to be on something that they're not on? Would somebody like to get off something that they're on? We've got quite a full agenda after this, so we won't take that time to do it live tonight, but we'll do it next time. And the only other last announcement I have is, I think it's pretty close to Connie's birthday, because Connie went to, I'm not going to say how old or anything. Connie went to Disney World, and she took off last Wednesday or Thursday, and we'll be back in the district office next week, so. Happy birthday, Connie.
There you go.
Ron?
Mr. Chairman, on the board liaisons, I'd like to add one more. One of the things that I know Paul's spoken about a couple of times, and I think the time's come for it, is a liaison for board policies. I think that we should have a liaison for the board policies, so we see what's coming up and see how we're going to be making revisions and see what else needs to be done. So I think that should be added to the list.
That's a great idea. And what category do you think that should fall in? We have 3 sets of categories. We have an A category, which requires attendance all of the time. We have a B category, which is a semi-optional, but most of us all attend them. PTAs would be included in those in every meeting. A C category and D category, which are less stringent in nature.
I would think it'd be either a Charlie or a Delta type of category, that they're in contact, they're looking at the manual and make recommendations, because we should be looking at some of our policies that are there from 1978. And they may make recommendations on that, and I think there should be 2 people on that.
All right, let's add that, Nate, let's add that to the list so Connie can get to that when she gets home. And then have the board review the rest of the positions that are mandatory and that we guide people to do.
Steve,
Paul?
you want to add the auditorium committee to this list?
Why don't we put that on as a category? We will have 2, when that charge is executed, which I believe is next month, we'll have 2 individuals that will be assigned to that. And we should assign 2 also to the board, to the policies and procedures.
That's correct.
You also, which we didn't put down, but we'll be having to form a committee for North School also, based on the vote.
That's right.
So you have to have a North School committee.
South School.
South.
Excuse me.
The funds were
South School.
transferred from North, so we all know. All right, so the South School analysis for construction there. Is there any thing that we can take off?
It's the building committee for the town hall.
Different negotiation, is there another different negotiation this year?
So we'll have to change the negotiation to
Yep.
the,
Support staff.
what's up? So we'll pull off one of the, and change one.
We'll pull off the 2.
Right, pull them both off and then add, I'm thinking
Support
like a
staff.
spreadsheet, sorry. And so the mandatories that we have right now for attendance are Budget Committee, Capital Improvement Planning, Communications Committee, Curriculum Coordinating Council. Then we'll have the support staff unions. The South School, I don't think it will be called a building committee because it's just the plan review.
Right.
Special Education Committee, Town Council, teacher contract negotiations come off, Voc Ed Committee. And we'll review these at our next meeting. Nate, if you could put these on the agenda
You bet.
in one of the appropriate areas. February enrollment report.
You have your February enrollment reports. Enrollment for this month, ending of February is 5557. There is a typo. Please note that the total hasn't changed. In the grand total, it should read LEAP 99 and kindergarten 346, just in carryover.
Questions for Nate? Nate, the 2,000 items for the...
I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry, Dan.
A real quick question, maybe this, Brian or Nate. Our autistic program that we're planning on opening up at Matthew Thornton next year, do we have a preliminary estimate of the number of students that we can accommodate in that program?
We're planning for 4 students for next year, with an increase of a few more students the following year. We have to do program approval through the Department of Education. We'll probably cap it at 12, will be what we'll request from the department as a total enrollment for that program.
How, can I ask a quick follow-up? Not to belabor the point, maybe I'll ask after we get it going, Brian, but how do we determine the selection criteria? Because we certainly have more than 4 autistic children currently.
We do. All of those students that we have don't require that intensive level of support, though. So these are kids who require a more restrictive kind of setting in terms of needing intense services in a smaller group.
So the commencement of this program is the word commencing, and as we develop this program, we'll be able to accommodate children with different level of difficulties?
Correct.
Okay. But we believe, to begin with, after the end of this year, we should have 12 children?
We'll only start somewhere around 4 or 5 children. We have to set a maximum enrollment per the state. That's just standard procedure whenever you request a new program of this
So we're
nature.
going to only carry 4 for the first year of the program?
That's what we're projecting for, yes.
Oh, we can, okay, thank you.
Any other questions on enrollment? Okay.
And I guess those numbers will be reflected in
Oh, yes.
Matthew Thornton?
Yes.
Okay.
Nate, did you have something?
Nope, all set.
Thank you.
That is what we're here for, enrollment, all the students, so don't have a problem if we want to talk about it. The 2006-2007 Londonderry School Calendar?
Right. You have in your packet the recommended school calendar for next year. The calendar has been reviewed. It's been cross-checked, too, with our vocational program so that we don't have conflicts on the major vacation days. We've also had a review by the Teachers Association, so as per our contract. We're looking to start school on the August 31st, which is earlier than we had this year, but it's going back to starting before Labor Day, which we had prior to this year. If the board remembers, we started after Labor Day this year because of the construction up in North School. We believe starting prior to Labor Day is a prudent move. We kind of drew against an inside straight this year and got lucky on snow days. Not looking forward to drawing against an inside straight a second year. The last day of school, barring any snow days, would be the 17th. We've laid out for you the teacher workshop days, as well as open houses, parent nights, parent conference days, teacher work days, and early release days.
Questions from the board? Ron?
Nate, can you just explain, we had some comments, how short November is?
Right.
And can you give the explanation why on the 7th we have a teacher workshop, and then why the 16th, 17th is the parent conference days?
Correct. Well, we have a teacher workshop day on the 7th because that also coincides with Election Day. And we thought that would be a good time to have it, so we can't use the gym because that's being used for elections and parking lot, so that saves us, I think, saves the community significant consternation, so we figured that would be a good day to have a teacher workshop day. It's also within a legitimate time frame to follow up on activities that we do in August and the teacher workshop days, and since we are going to be piloting core reading program next year, that's a very good point in which we can meet with all the elementary teachers to talk about the core reading program. So we do that. The kindergarten parent conferences, which only obviously affect the kindergarten, that's a good time to have it. The kids have been in school for a little over 2 months, gives the teachers an opportunity to get to know the kids and gives them an opportunity to meet with the parents. We have them over 2 days because the kindergarten teachers are working with roughly double the number of kids that all the elementary kids have. Parent conferences on the 17th for the other schools. It's right at the close of marking period and gives a good opportunity. We wind up with 16 days in November. It's a little bit chopped up, but we also have 16 days in December, and April also has 16 days. So it becomes 6 in one, half dozen the other. We put the teacher workshop day in November because we felt it coincided with Election Day, and that made sense to us. That's why we did it.
Ron?
Okay. No, I'm all set.
Other questions for Nate on the calendar? Fill some time. I see people counting over here. So. Nate, two comments that I've had from the community were, you've addressed both of them briefly, but the concern that November and March, it's broken up
Right.
quite a bit. I think your explanation of the Election Day is good. It's not something that I would have thought of on the calendar. The other comment that I've had from parents is that they are not very pleased about the fact that we start before Labor Day. It cuts into the summer.
Right.
I just wanted to share that with you as it's been shared with me. Now, last year we didn't start on that date. Just explain about the construction reasons for
Right.
that.
We had a concern about the construction at North School being able to finish enough so that we could get the youngsters in. So we looked to extend the summer work season, if you will, by beginning after Labor Day, which we did this year. And I think the kids came back on the 6th of September, as opposed. And we got really lucky this year because if we had had a winter like we had the previous year, we had the potential of running out of snow days, which would have meant, and days in the year to make up school to get the 180 days in, which would have meant that we would have had to go back and take a look at either April vacation or having school on a Saturday or what have you to get in the 180 days. Many school districts, I believe, in the state now are going to the before Labor Day start. I can understand that. That's why when we build a calendar, what we try to do is ensure that people have that long Labor Day weekend. So we start on the 31st, which is a Thursday. Kids come back to school on the Friday, and then they have that Monday for the long Labor Day weekend. So we get a lot of the organizational stuff out of the way, and kids come back ready to start on Labor Day.
Dan?
Nate, I believe we've started school before Labor Day for 5 out of the last 6 years, if not longer.
Yeah, ever since I've been here.
So
we
it's,
have.
well, okay.
There's only been one.
I can only remember 5 years.
No,
But-
20.
You read that in a book, right, Mrs. Me?
No, that was my big shock when I came up here from Massachusetts and found out we started the week before Labor Day.
So it's nothing new, and the 31st isn't that far at the end of summer, so.
And, by giving people enough notice, that I think it allows people, and, I can understand it, but I think it provides you the flexibility that you need for snow days, and getting everything in. I think it's kind of important.
And on the other end, if we had a number of snow days, you mentioned Saturday, but also you could extend the school year for the elementary grades.
Right?
That would cut in on the vacation side on the other end.
Yeah, what you can't do is run the 05, for instance, the 05-06 school year into July, because you run
Right, fiscal.
one into another fiscal year, and the state requires us to have 180 days within the regular school, within the regular school year. So you've got to get those days in prior to the last day in June.
And the other dynamic you have is you've set now we set the graduation day ahead of time versus we used to set that at the end of the winter. And there was a change to the time for graduation I saw in the notes.
That's right. Graduation will be at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Last year, I believe it was at 4. So it'll be at 2 o'clock.
at the air-conditioned Verizon
O'clock,
Center.
a year and a half from now.
No, 2 o'clock
Oh, this
year.
year's changed?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah, yes, that's correct. The air-conditioned Verizon Center. Yes, sir.
That seats everyone's family.
Yes.
Ron?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we accept the 2006-2007 calendar as written.
Second.
First and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 5-0. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, may I ask that we jump down to item 9.3? There are a number of
Yep.
people in the audience that have come specifically for 9.3. And 3 of them have guns, but they be helpful.
Let's just work during budget season. Come on. If you could, Nate's going to, for those that are professionals that are interested in discussing this policy, just please make your way to the podiums up front here so that we'll be able to hear you. Nate, can you give a brief overview of policy JFCL?
I would say the last month or so, in conversations mainly up at the high school, including our SRO officer, we were looking at a variety of venues to add to our drug and alcohol policy and provide what we would consider to be a higher level of safety for students. One of the ideas that we came up with was the establishment of a breathalyzer policy that would be instituted. And let me just walk you through the component parts of this. Students who have consumed alcohol, we believe, pose a direct safety risk to themselves, staff, other students, and community at large. In order to ensure a safe environment for all students, staff, and the community at large, the Londonderry School Board authorizes trained law enforcement personnel, district administrators, and their designees to administer breathalyzer tests to district students while on school property. District administrators, law enforcement personnel, and their designees may administer a breathalyzer test to any student provided that there is an articulable suspicion, as described in item number 5, that the student has consumed alcohol. District administrators and law enforcement personnel administering such tests shall be trained by competent professionals to effectively and accurately administer the breathalyzer test. Such breathalyzer test may be administered by either portable personal breath test, PBT, or by use of an intoxinalyzer. Blood alcohol level of 0.02% or greater shall be deemed a level 3 offense of having used alcoholic beverages while on school property. Articulable suspicion may be satisfied by conduct including, but not limited to, reports of alcohol use from other individuals, physical impairment, unusual behavior, bloodshot or glassy eyes, odor of alcoholic beverages, or on the basis of any other behavior or information that provides a reasonable basis to conclude that the youngster has used alcohol. In the event the district administrator or law enforcement personnel does administer a breathalyzer test, a report shall be prepared, including the outcome of the test as well as those factors that form the basis for finding that articulable suspicion existed that the student used alcohol. Any student who refuses to take a breathalyzer test after articulable suspicion has been formed and the student, having been advised of the consequences of such a refusal, continues to refuse, may be disciplined as a level 3 offense as set forth in Londonderry School District Policy JG-R. For the purposes of this policy, school property shall include but shall not be limited to school buildings, buses, gymnasiums, facilities rented and or leased by the school district, other facilities or premises utilized for school-sponsored activities, and/or events, classrooms, hallways, libraries, cafeterias, bathrooms, locker rooms, athletic fields, and all parking areas, lawns, and roadways utilized or otherwise associated therewith. We've also included appropriate adjustments in the student alcohol and use and drug abuse policies in our policy in regulations JIH, which are all included in the board's packet. We had, going along with this, Mike Carl, who's our high school SRO officer, has been doing some research for us on possible breathalyzers that could be used, and doing some research on that. We also would plan on having some training for the entire faculty at the high school, and then we'd follow up in middle school and spoke to Chief Ryan and Captain Hart the other day to just review with faculty members what characteristics someone should look for in an event as far as whether or not we might think a youngster had taken alcohol or what have you. If, in fact, we were going to initiate a breathalyzer, we would contact the parent. The youngster could, in fact, refuse to do it. Parent could, in fact, refuse to do it, and that's fine. Then what would happen would be we would probably follow the present protocol that we have. If, in fact, upon investigation and hearing, the high school administration feels the youngster had consumed alcohol, was under the influence, then we would go through the normal disciplinary process. We believe that this is a way of confirming that a youngster may have consumed alcohol. A number of times we have conversations with parents or with the student, and they will refuse to admit that, in fact, they had been drinking. This is a way, and we have questions about it. The use of a breathalyzer, just like if you stop for a DUI, can, in fact, clear up the case and say, no, that's not, in fact, the case. We look at this as just an additional tool that can be used by the school administration to provide a safer environment for everyone concerned at the school district. Do we feel that our problem is significantly worse than drug and alcohol use throughout the state of New Hampshire? No, we don't. It's on a par. We believe it's on a par, and I think when we did the Youth at Risk survey several years ago, and the recent results that came out indicate that we're probably right about average. But we do believe that this is an issue that should be addressed. This is one component of it. As the board is aware that when we identify youngsters or youngsters have been suspended for drug or alcohol abuse, we require them now to meet with the school community counselor, who's a trained drug and alcohol counselor. And there's a minimum of 6 meetings. One is basically an assessment meeting, followed by a number of conferencing sessions that go along with that. So we're not looking just solely at a punitive aspect. We're looking at a comprehensive method of addressing this particular issue. And we believe that this gives the school administration another tool to work with. And I also think in many instances it will help to support the parent in addressing this issue with underage drinkers. And Chief Ryan is here to address any questions that you may have. Captain Hart is, and also to Judy and Jason are also here, and then also Officer Coral.
Okay, thank you, Nate. Just to let everyone know, what we'll do is we'll take questions from the board. Glenn, I noticed that you're interested in speaking on this. What we'll do is take questions also from the public on this and any other of the policies that we have this evening. I'm going to take questions from the board first. We have the professionals and administrative staff here in the audience. The board will ask questions of them, and then I'll call up the public to ask questions on this also. Questions from the board for Nate or the administration or professionals we have?
Well, let me start out. Nate, one of the things I would like to see is a regulation on this. If you're planning to do this, regulation should include what is the calibration rate that this is done? How often do we calibrate this machine? If we get a positive test, do you calibrate it afterward and take another positive test after that to ensure that it happens? The training of the people, I would expect that would be done by the manufacturer of the machine.
Chief Ryan, I'm going to ask that if one of your representatives or whoever would be answering the questions like this, if you could come to the microphones.
I'm just stating facts that I want to see in a policy, in a regulation, and I'm basically these questions. I'll give you my reference. Come from my work, which has a drug and alcohol policy in there and a random testing. I went down there today to discuss it with them, what the pros and cons are, because they're into this and there's legal implications. For a lawyer, I've got a question is, we say a .02 test on there. What is our legal liability if you come up with .18? .018. What do we do at that point? You know, obviously it's been a positive reading, but not reached the point here. What happens there? In the regulation, also, I would like to see how do we notify the parents on this type of situation? Should they be notified as the test is being done, or how does the parents come into effect here? The other thing is, what is the time of abstinence prior to taking the test? Because there's an effect of drinking or even water. Belching also affects this test. So all these things need to be into a policy and a regulation that we do it. I have a grave concern about our district administrators or their designees issuing this. And you know, as we get into the policy, if we're going to do it, then I want a professional to do the testing, not our administrators or a teacher that is a designee. I think those are the type of questions, even before I would even consider this type of policy, that we get into this type of situation here. And then I guess really as we look at this, I maybe want to take a look at our overall policies, everything that we have out on drug and alcohol, you know, our contract, everything else, and bring that in and take a comprehensive look at the whole picture that we have, not just take section and section and section on it. So I'm done.
Paul?
My question is for Nate or for the law enforcement officials, if they're aware of a school district doing something like this before.
I'm not aware of any in New Hampshire that has done it, but I do know that one of the makers of one of the alcohol testing devices makes one specifically for schools. So it may in fact be being done in other parts of the country. But I'm not aware of any in New Hampshire that has done it.
Thank you.
George?
Thank you, Steve. I have a few more basic questions, I think, than Ron was driving at, although I do agree that I don't think it's district personnel's place to administer tests. We have school resource officers, we have officers at dances, we have officers at the middle school dances. Make that part of their jobs. Paul asked if there was any other schools using it. If the question to that would have been yes, it would have asked about court challenges and whether that had actually been held up in court. It seems to me that the policy is there to confirm something that we probably already know. We know that there are issues of underage drinking in the schools, and it seems to me that the policy is there to confirm that. If we already know it, why are we trying to confirm it as opposed to addressing the issue right up front? So I guess the question there is, how would this policy have affected any of the incidents up to this point?
I think in a number of normal daily disciplinary issues, you may in fact have suspicion that a youngster has consumed alcohol. The youngster denies it, or the parent supports the youngster and denies they did. You're then put in the nexus of trying to make a decision as to whether or not, just by that youngster's behavior, that in fact they have or they have not consumed alcohol. This, if in fact the youngster agreed to do this and parent agreed to have the youngster do it, would in a sense be a further confirmation either the youngster didn't do it or the youngster in fact did do it. Just normal observation sometimes cannot, I think, completely give you a complete picture as to whether or not the youngster had consumed alcohol or what have you. I think it becomes a safety issue. If we miss it, then you've got a potential safety issue with the youngster that had consumed alcohol, either a safety issue for themselves or a safety issue for somebody else. So in those instances where there's a question or where there's an absolute strong denial, but there's permission as far as, yeah, they'll take it, I think it can confirm either the youngster did or the youngster did not do it. And I think this is probably a poor analogy, but it's one I can think of. If you're pulled over and suspected of DUI, if you wind up taking the breathalyzer and it shows that you're clean, you're fine. And that person has an opportunity either to take the test or not take the test. And that's the same thing here, do the breathalyzer. So in a number of instances that I can think of that we've had in school over the last few years, there are youngsters that we had a suspicion that had taken it, but absolutely positively denied that they did. So in those instances, I think it's very helpful. The way we're looking at it, and the number of really good questions have been raised about the regulations. The way we're looking at it is, first and foremost, there's a safety issue for a youngster that perhaps is consuming alcohol for themselves, and also a safety issue for other students, whether it's at a football game, a basketball game, a dance, or during the school day. And from, I guess, a philosophical perspective, I think be foolish to think that kids, in fact, good kids, whatever, will experiment with alcohol or drugs from time to time. Some wind up doing it much more than we would like. But because we understand that they, in fact, will do it, and because that data and research indicates that it doesn't mean that we shouldn't say that's not permissible, and that there are consequences to it, not only to yourself, but perhaps to other people. And when we look at this particular adjunct to the other policies that we have and the other programs in place, I look at it as simply an additional tool that we can use to clarify whether or not a youngster may have or may not have had alcohol, whether it's when they walk in the school building in the morning, or whether they attend a dance or go to a football game, a basketball game, on a field trip, or what have you. And I just think it adds just one more thing that can do it. The other thing is, if in fact, when parents speak to their kids about going to a dance or whatever, or to an event, and they say, if they suspect that you've consumed alcohol between now and then, and they ask you to take a breathalyzer, I'm going to say, yeah. And to that extent, I think maybe, and I have no data at this, I think it just gives a parent another extra couple of pounds of support, if you will, to reinforce with the kids that's not an appropriate thing to do.
George? Chief, can I ask you a question? If a parent, let's say we got kids at a dance, and a parent came up to you and asked you to administer a breathalyzer test to their child, would your officers do that?
Only if the child agreed.
Only if the child agreed?
And the parent.
So it's not just the parent that we need to agree, we need the child to agree as well?
Yes.
Thank you.
Just so those that know, Chief Ryan is speaking.
And if I can make a clarification, only 2 of us have guns. I don't know where.
Sorry.
Haven't seen it in days. So.
Now, we don't have to worry about anybody writing about what we're talking about in the paper. Chief Ryan hasn't seen his gun in days. Ron, would you like
Steve,
to
that's a
talk?
good thing.
Come out of this.
Nobody's arguing, Chief.
Chief, doesn't the state have an internal possession law that they put in place where I thought a child got convicted of drinking because he had alcohol and it was considered internal possession?
If it falls under a point, if it falls above a 2 or 0.02 or above.
0.02 and or above.
Is that correct?
I guess the question I have is, if our staff believes that there is an issue and that the child has internal possession, wouldn't they contact you, and would not that be taking care of the same issue that we have here?
Yeah, to maybe clarify a point. If we're called, we will respond. And if the officer who makes an observation, which I think is part of what Nate was talking about, that we can help and do some training of the staff and making the same observations that we make, that you all make about an individual, bloodshot eyes, stuttering, whatever the issues are, that's the first thing that I think we need to consider, is making sure that we all look at that in the same manner and make those observations. And the officer who responds would make those same observations. If in his or her mind he felt that it would be helpful to ask if they would like to take one of these portable breath tests. And I think that's what we're talking about. We're not talking about the intoxilators, we're talking about the portable breath tests. Then he would certainly give the parent and the child the opportunity to do that. But it would have to be agreed upon from our standpoint.
You have mentioned or said specifically it had to be both the parent and the child that has to agree.
Yes.
Why is that? Can you explain why the parent
But
doesn't
you
have
need
the
the
right?
child to be cooperative, because we're not going to hold them down and make them breathe into the machine. We appreciate the parents' cooperation because we feel that they are acting in the best interest of hopefully are acting in the best interest of the child, and the child probably is not enough to make that decision in our eyes. I'm not sure it's required under the law, it's just what we would do.
Okay. I got one more thing from Nate.
Go ahead, I've got something for Nate, too.
Okay, Nate, has the attorney reviewed this policy?
Yeah, he in fact wrote it. With the only thing that he did not write were the items in red. In my meeting with Chief Ryan and Captain Hart, we substituted the word reasonable for articulable, which I'm having a hard time articulating. And in the emailed one that I sent to you guys today, the changes, some were basically just grammatical changes. But the key change here was reasonable to articulable. I'm still having a hard time pronouncing it.
Before we do, it might come up again. Did you have anything else? Ron?
Nope.
Before I go to Dan, just to add on to Ron's question about legal liability, I'd also like to find out from the attorneys the legal liability on the underside. In other words, if they're 0.18 or if they're 0.0, and then there's an accident on the way home, what
Right.
happens to the school district?
I can tell you that as a matter of practice, and Jason and Judy mentioned, if we suspect a youngster has been giving an example, we had, unfortunately, it was reported quite well in the newspaper. We had youngsters that we considered to be under the influence of the dance. We called the parents up and we made the parents drive the kids home. We would not allow any of them to drive. And that's just a practice we have. And in school, it's the same way. If in fact we suspect the youngster has either taken drugs or consumed alcohol, we contact the parent, we have the parent come in, and we will not let that youngster drive. So whether it's a 0.8 or a 0.2 or what have you, if in our judgment we consider the youngster to be even slightly impaired, we won't let that youngster behind the wheel. We have the parent come in.
Let me go to Dan.
Just for point of clarification, Joe, your recommendation would be that prior to the submittal of a breathalyzer test for student articulating suspicion, you would recommend that both have parental involvement and student involvement?
Yes.
We have in this policy, obviously, that if the student does not give authorization, it'll be a level 3 offense, which means immediate suspension for 10 days. What if the parent's not available? I mean, you're at a school dance, it's
Well,
9:30 at night.
What we would do is we would then go through the contact list. Who is the next person that we should be contacting for, to get that youngster home? So we have on those emergency cars, who you contact next, who you contact next. By having this in here, what we're saying is, without further confirmation by using this test, by making it a level 3, we're making the assumption that that the administrator or the faculty member involved made a determination that this youngster appeared to be under the influence, whether it was drugs or alcohol. And the normal disciplinary process goes in. The fact that they refuse to take the breathalyzer in turn means that we're going to go with the judgment that we in fact made, that we're making now when we make a determination as to whether or not we believe a youngster had consumed alcohol or been on drugs. And then, depending upon the particular situation or the event, the youngster would be suspended for 1 to 10 days, as per board policy, which has to do with possession, and possession meaning either internal drugs or alcohol, which can result in, we would consider that a level 3 offense, and then the administration will make a decision as to what the length of the suspension would be.
I assume, Nate, that we're not going to, I mean, we're going to be pretty specific to the individuals that we have reasonable suspicion to believe that.
Right.
Now, so what do we do now?
Well, if we have...
And the child says, no, I haven't been drinking.
Well, we conduct an investigation. In some cases, we have situations where the administration will wind up interviewing 4, 5, 6 different kids. Where were you? What time did you do?
Sure.
What kids you were with?
Sure, I understand.
Over a period of an hour to 2 hours, depending on how many kids they have to talk to, may come back that, in fact, yes, somebody witnessed Johnny drinking or witnessed Susie taking a pill or what have you. It's the normal investigative process. We're looking at this as a twofold thing. One, I think it provides a tool for parents who wish to use it to say, if the school calls and says to me, they think you've been drinking, I'm going to say, yes, go, I'm going to give them permission to use the breathalyzer or PDS, period. Right? So I think for many youngsters, it would be, that's one avenue that's been cut off for me. I can't, sit there and say, no, I didn't, and then blow an O2 on the thing. So I think that's a tool. And as Joe had mentioned, we wouldn't do this without either the student giving us permission, the student and parent giving us permission to do it. Otherwise, the normal process goes into place. I realize that this has generated a great deal of discussion, and there have been some good questions raised about the regulations and making sure that they're in there. I think this is, from my perspective, simply another tool that we can use that I think supports parents in this process, and also obviously would support the administration and faculty in addressing this issue. On the back end, it can also support a kid. Everybody's human, and Joe Ryan to me looks a little tipsy. And I start going through it, and he says, well, no, I didn't have anything. That's just my normal gait. I'm usually more balanced with the gun on my right side, and I don't have it today. And parent says, yeah, go ahead. And Joe blows in, and there's nothing there. And, Joe's fine. So we're looking at this as being just simply another tool. And I guess what we're looking to do is provide as many tools as possible to create as safe an environment as possible for individual students as well as students at large.
Ron had 2 things, and then Dan had something.
Okay.
Why don't you finish your stuff first?
Yeah, I just have a quick one. Nate, I agree that all the tools that are in place. I thought Ron's comments and Paul's and George was very apropos. I'm not afraid of being at the cutting edge, and if no one else in the state has done this, I don't take any hesitancy in saying we can be the first. I don't find that to be a mitigating point in our decision. All I'm thinking is that you're talking about children that are, well, gosh, I'd hate to say it, but 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and 17. And submitting to a breathalyzer test can be a scary event, or I don't know. It might just be a challenge for a child. I don't find hesitancy in doing it. I do agree with George or Paul or somebody's comments that I think it should be a law enforcement personnel. We do have resource officers, I believe, at our functions. And I think Ron's comments about let's review this relative to the regulations. I also take into consideration why 0.2, I simply don't know. But if a child's been drinking alcohol and it's 0.019, why do we cut it at 0.2? I simply don't know. But I think I'd be more comfortable with, if we get challenged in this, it comes from, as a community member, not realizing anything, if you called up and said, my child had a breath, or is going to take a breathalyzer test by Maureen or somebody of that, and no offense, I would say I'd prefer that versus if I had to take it to court or it was challenged. I don't know the legalities, but if, Dan's been trained, well, does that hold up? I don't know. What training's involved in you said you'd submit, or you would be happy to train personnel.
No, what we'd be happy to train your personnel in is the observations of intoxication, not the machine.
Right.
Okay, I misunderstood, Joe. Okay.
Be careful. I mean, we're talking about two different pieces of equipment. An intoxilyzer is that big machine. I think what you're talking about here is the portable breath tests,
Yes.
which are a lot less intrusive.
Okay.
They're not intimidating to look at. I believe SRO Coral has one, if you'd like to see one. And so we're not talking about, at least from our perspective, if we came to the dance, it would be.
I apologize. I was under misassumption there. But anyhow, so I am in favor of this. I think Ron's comments relative to looking at certain regulations makes some sense.
Right.
The other thing, Nate, is if it's test positive, what option is there for an alternative test? What I'm looking at is a blood test. Do they have and that should be part of the regulation, that the parent has the option as an option for that.
Yeah, I guess from my perspective, we weren't looking to go that far. Well, we're now looking at this as, well, now we're going to take you to court because you were drunk. We're looking at this as a confirmation as to whether or not we think in a school setting for administrative recourse, if you will, for detention, that's an indication to us that the youngster had consumed alcohol.
But I have to have the right to argue the case, and you can't do it there. I have it at my work that if someone tests positive, they have the option to take the blood test.
And I would say treat it the same way we do it with regard to arrests that we make, which is, go to the hospital and have a blood test taken.
Yeah.
Anybody can go to the hospital and have a blood test taken. The one thing we don't do is give an option. Would you prefer the breath test or the blood test? It's the test that we provide and we offer you. And then if you choose to go to the hospital afterwards and have blood drawn to confirm or bring it to question, because certainly blood has a
But in
tendency
the
to be more
policy here,
accurate.
I understand that. In the policy here, I would like the idea that a blood test result would be accepted as proof of a more definitive response than of a machine. The other item is that we've spoken both ways on the policy as a level 3 offense about having it, well, we're going to go through our regular procedure. If they refuse to take it, then the policy should be stating that, not that it's automatic. Because it's not automatic. You just said that. So that will be the next thing. And I'd like to see reports of alcohol use by other individuals or anonymous be taken out of it. I have problems with phone calls and things like that have happened over the years for what reasons. Could be numerous reasons why they're called up. If we have a policy, a behavioral observation policy that our staff is qualified to review, that should be our judgment part of it. It should be we should be doing training on it and an annual training every year on this. And new employees that come in should be part of our induction policy to do a behavioral observation training. I mean, there's certain steps you take. It's not just that, go take a look at these 3 things. It's a specific type of training that you do.
Okay. Well, we're not looking to take students to court. What we're looking to do is have this policy that gives an additional option if, in fact, the parent and the child agree to it regarding an administrative procedure for suspension, if you will, or not suspension in what we're doing on a regular basis in school now, whether it's during a school event or during the school day.
I guess my problem is you are using it almost as a court of law. Here becomes the definitive response, yay or nay. And if you do that, then I think you need to have the options that you're laying out. You're taking away, you're going into policy JFCH, and you're implementing that based on your results here. So I think.
Ron, which is the way we base our results based on our observations now. That's what we're making, that plus an investigation that is normally taking place, or an admission by the child that in fact they did it.
So,
Now, I
Nate,
guess my issue is, this is simply an additional tool to use as part of what we're normally doing, whether it's a school event or during the school day. When we have a situation like this, and it's less than a 10-day suspension, or up to a 10-day suspension, we have an informal hearing, which we're required to do, just like we do with any disciplinary issue. There's an informal hearing held, and then a decision is made as to what the discipline would be. This would potentially be just another piece of information that the administrator could use to make a decision as to whether or not that youngster was going to be suspended, whether it was going to be out-of-school suspension, in-school suspension, or for the length of the suspension. That's all this is.
But the training that.
No, let's not. Let's finish up the questions, and I don't want to do a debate, because I have a feeling we'll be talking about this quite a while. And we do have students, I believe, that are here for the parking issue. Don't worry, no parking tickets issued. Chief Ryan, do we have an SRO, school resource officer, in the school at all times?
Even if we didn't,
Relatively speaking.
if the school called the police department, we would respond with an officer as quickly, obviously, depending on what
So one
life-threatening situations
of
we
the
have.
concerns that Nate's written down, there's a number of board members, and I'll agree with it, is the administration administering the test. If we were to have the requirement to administer a test, there would always be access to an officer.
I would say most always there would be the opportunity for an officer who would come to the scene, make observations, and then, in his own right, determine whether or not he feels that he would offer the test. And keep in mind, the offering of the test, we have a tendency to look at these things in the negative light. Look at it in the positive light. If I was being accused of having consumed alcohol and I didn't, I would want someone to offer me this test. I would want someone to give me the opportunity to give them the evidence, if you will, or some information that says I haven't been drinking. So you've got to look into the positive light. The other side of it, and Ron, this kind of addresses one of the issues you talk about. Keep in mind, in a court of law, you all have the capability of testifying to someone's sobriety, just based on your common, everyday observations. There is no requirement in the law, in a court of law, that you have to go through any special training to say that guy, that individual looked intoxicated to me. The court accepts that on its face value because everybody, they believe, most people have an ability to determine, within reason, one's sobriety, and without any training. What we are asking, or what we have offered, is that we will give you some of the added things that we know through our years of experience that might enlighten some of those things, bring to light some of those things.
But that training is, you're speaking of training.
Observation training.
The assistant principals, and those in the school, of how to observe, which they actually have done a very good job of that to date.
We're providing
Now,
whatever.
you're not talking about training on how to use this device.
We
does
don't
o-
believe that's the way to go.
I'm sorry, does Officer Coral have this device available to him in the school now?
Yeah, he doesn't carry it with him. We have it at the police station and readily available.
Okay, great. Let me, I'm going to go to the public for questions, and then we'll come back to the board if any individuals have one final question. Glenn, would you like to ask something? And just, if, as a public member, if you would come to the microphone, just please state your name and address, and thank
I'm
you.
Douglas, 6 Oak Ave. Actually, I have a slew of comments on this one. Just quick, because I actually have another question. I believe from some reading last night, in 2002, there was a New Hampshire Supreme Court decision that said if the school board or school staff invoke police powers, they have to read them the rights. With all the times that I've heard constitutionality mentioned in the past year, the school board and town could be walking into a huge problem if someone challenged this in a long, drawn-out court case. I have 3 kids, a 13-year-old, a 12-year-old, and a 3-year-old, and I'm definitely concerned about underage drinking and all of the problems. That's my little blurb. I have a question as far as the agenda. My daughter's here, she's 12, my son's here, 13, and there's about 16 other people here. The agenda said 7:25, questions and announcements. In the past, I believe that was questions from the public. The agenda also says for deliberation 9.1, school calendar, which we did. 9.2, student use of vehicles, which we haven't done. We skipped over the breathalyzer. Is there going to be any time for public questions? There's a lot of people in this room that have some questions, which, in my opinion, and I won't speak for anyone else, they've been pushed off and haven't had their questions answered. So if they're not going to have public comment, they can probably all go home. If there isn't going to be public comment, I'm going to request that they be added to the agenda tonight for the next school board meeting.
First of all, Nate, you've got a notation on the 2002 law to check into that
Right.
he's indicated.
Mhm.
The school board is actually by state statute not required to take public comment, although we offer a very, very open meeting and appreciate it when people come down. The schedule this evening, we've gone a little bit long, but the deliberation was scheduled to begin at 8:15, and we actually began that deliberation at 8 o'clock when we talked about this school calendar. We began this portion at 8:10, and I'm giving everyone an opportunity to speak. So we have another item on the agenda which I believe is of interest to many people, and that's a parking issue. And we'll have public comment as much as they wish on that, as long as it's not repetitive. The superintendent moved the, swapped the items, asked permission of the board to swap the items, 9.2 and 9.3, and we did so because of the officers and chief and captain that we have in the room.
So there will be no option for public questions regarding any non-agenda issues?
I think the problem occurred, Glenn, and to be honest with you, is as we went through it, because we had the recognition, that's the section we have questions and announcements, and we didn't get to the questions and announcement portion of it. What I would suggest to the board is let's finish the policies up, and then at the end of the policies, we'll take the questions and the announcements from the audience on the issue. I would think that would be reasonable.
Actually, well, let's finish up this policy.
Okay.
And then jump to that. If we have individuals in the room that they did not make themselves known to the chair or the superintendent who was running the meeting when we started, it is a bit of an odd meeting tonight because it's run by the superintendent at the beginning because there's no board chair. But in the future, if individuals have a desire to speak in that public comment area, if they just notify us ahead of time, we'd be more than happy to help them.
Okay.
All right. And Marilyn, if you could just state your name.
I'm Madeline Demule, 29A Boyd Road. I have some comments and questions about this policy. I spoke to the board in May of 2003 when we were anticipating the results of the Youth at Risk survey. And at the time, I had asked the board to consider setting up a committee to address the concerns that were highlighted in this survey. The board at the time felt that the survey really didn't reflect the actual situation in the community, that the numbers were probably skewed. I really disagreed strongly, and I felt really strongly that this would become a situation that the school district would have to deal with if there wasn't a community response to the numbers. I've done a lot of research on this subject because I've been very involved in community engagement and community decision-making about things like this for the past 10 years. And one of the things that I spent some time considering was the research on the best approach to handling all this. First of all, the Youth at Risk Survey is a national survey given by the National Institute of Health. It's widely recognized. It's considered very accurate by the scientific community. And Nate's right. It really indicates that Londonderry is pretty much right square in the middle of the nation, not just the state. We pretty much are average with regard to the statistics, and the statistics are really pretty significant. 31% of New Hampshire high school students report binge drinking, which is defined as consuming 5 or more drinks on 1 or more occasions in the last 30 days. 1 in 4, or 26% of high school students, had their first drink of alcohol before the age of 13. This is New Hampshire studies, and we were right here in this ballpark. Youth who drank before they turned 15 are 4 times more likely to develop alcohol dependence than those who start drinking at 21. And I think this is a really specific, significant statement. 3% of parents think that their high school students have had 5 or more drinks in a row in the last month. And more than 30% of high school students report this behavior. There's a big disconnect between what parents think and what students say they're actually doing, which is why I believe we're considering this tonight. But I strongly believe that we need to look at the whole approach that we use as a school district and a community to this problem. And I think Ron was right on target when he talked about looking at the entire process all the way down the line. One of the things, and I think we really need to discuss, is what research says. What are the decisions that we need to make based on peer-reviewed, sound research as effective in dealing with this problem? I think that the breathalyzer is one thing I would like to know. I have no idea, like, what is the impact of a breathalyzer on actually affecting drug and alcohol use at school functions? Like, does it really inhibit, does it stop the behavior? I think that we need to look at statistics and studies. I think that's a really important thing to do. We've gotten to that point with our curriculum. We look at the curriculum and we decide based on research if something is appropriate. I think that should be part of our policy, just at looking at things like this, looking at what does the research say. I think that's an important part, and a question I would like answered. Another thing we need to look at is what the district provides in terms of alcohol, addressing the issues of alcohol and drugs and other at-risk behaviors. And I think it's really important to look at what the state did in 2004. They set up a commission, I need to find, who came up with a group of recommendations. It was a very large group of people. It was the Concord Police Department, lots of drug and alcohol groups, healthcare agencies, Dartmouth-Hitchcock Hospital, and they came up with a series of recommendations to look at this situation. And I think it's something that we need to really look at as a community. If we're at the point now where we're considering breathalyzers, then we acknowledge that we have a problem. So if we acknowledge we have a problem, we have to really look at what the best approach is to the problem. What we're doing now is just one aspect. I'm just going to read a few of the recommendations. The first thing they said was the research that they came up with, it was the basis for their information. Research indicates that youth get alcohol from their parents, their friends' parents, and other adults. This means that changing and reinforcing cultural and social norms that underage alcohol use is permitted requires a combination of policies change strategies, educational opportunities, and resource and support activities that target parents and adults within the community. This is not only a school problem, and I understand that your approach is to deal with safety in the schools, but we do take some responsibility in that we have programs in the schools. So now it's our responsibility to look and see if they're actually working. The recommendations they identified was to identify opportunities for ensuring the consistency of school policies across the districts. New Hampshire's K-12 schools should include the following in their curriculum and their prevention efforts: research-based prevention programs that have been proven effective, What the state also, in their own recommendations to themselves, say to ensure that state agencies responsible for directing state and federal dollars for programs and services, set up using a framework for funding that is based on comprehensive, research-based prevention efforts. I can't stress that enough. I think this is a really important key factor right now. I think we need to look at what we do across the district in terms of research, and is it working? Because if we're getting results like these, I don't think we should really be happy with the programs that we have. And one thing that we've never wanted to discuss publicly, and I've discussed several times with several members of the board, is DARE. A lot of the research, there's absolutely no scientific research that shows that it works. There's a lot of narratives that say it does. There is research that say it doesn't work. I think it's something we need to consider. We spend a lot of time and a lot of money on a program that isn't seeming to produce the kinds of results we would like as a community. And maybe it does work, and maybe our particular program is especially effective. I think it's very effective in community policing. I think it sends a really good message to the kids about the police department, but I'm not sure that it's effective in preventing alcohol and drug abuse. There's a lot of other things they talk about: media literacy, a strong link with community. They talk about coalitions, which is what I recommended when we got the survey. I don't see a lot of that kind of activity going on. We do a really good job lately of communication. I was chairman of the communication committee for 7 years, 10 years ago. We started it 12 years ago. I don't see a lot of communication with parents about this problem of alcohol in the school district. I think Nate sends home a lot of letters about things that are going on. I'd like to see more of that too. And I really think we need to do our homework before we implement a policy like this. I think you can't look at this in isolation. And I really strongly suggest that the board take, a real hard, serious look at this. And it takes courage to do that. I think it takes courage to stick your neck out. But if you've been so public about the problems that we've had recently, and you're willing to look at this kind of solution, look honestly at the problem as a whole, and then put the responsibility where it lies, on the whole community, not just the school district. But also the school district has to look internally too and see what's working along with the police department and what isn't. So I really think that this is a big step to take as a community, and it sends a very punitive message to students. I know there's some students here that want to speak too, and I think that we should listen to them also. Thank you.
Thank you, Mel. By the way, as you guys queue up, go ahead, step right up. As you guys queue up, if you'd like to queue up at the other table to keep things moving with the microphone.
My name's Virginia Ravenel. I live at 109 Hovey Road. I just wanted to state that I believe there are other ways of dealing with alcoholism in the schools besides the breathalyzer test. I think there's a lot of legalities that would be involved with the town, along with the school. I do have another question in regards to the statement you had made earlier about the school board being open to the public and letting the public talk. If we have a problem within the school, is this not the forum to come to?
Typically, in the school district, if you have a problem, let's start with if you have a problem with a teacher, you would have a discussion with that teacher. If you were then not happy with what was going on in that situation, you would have a conversation with the staff, the principal that teacher works for. If you were then not, and the chain of events here might be slightly different if it was a sports issue or with a custodian or something else. But if we've gone to a teacher, we've now gone to the principal of that school.
I think it's more like a school custodian type issue.
If you were, okay, let me finish because I've gotten almost to the end of the teacher one.
Sorry.
If you were to then speak with the principal and you weren't pleased, you would contact the superintendent to explain the issue with him. At that point, coming to the board to discuss the issue would be very reasonable. If you have an issue with a custodian, if it's a personnel issue or a personal issue with that custodian, I would imagine the principal of the school would be the person to speak to. Would that be correct, Carolyn? And if you, again, were not pleased with that answer, or if it didn't resolve your problem, speaking to the superintendent on that would be the next step. And in these conversations would be private or non-public. One of the things with the school board is the conversations we have here are all public. You may not want to.
And how would you get put on as an agenda onto the school board?
If you're interested in being onto the agenda, you could contact the superintendent or myself as the board chair this year, and we can take and consider putting you onto the agenda to have a conversation with us.
Thank you.
And we would route you to the right. And it happens quite often. We try to route people to the right location.
Excellent. Thank you.
Right.
Excuse me, and Steve, that could be either a public or a non-public.
If it's a personnel issue,
If it's a personnel issue, and a person is going to bring a complaint directly to the school board on a personnel issue, that person would have to be notified, and that person would have to have representation. Because the board has the power to hire and fire. And if in fact it's an issue that relates to, let's say, someone's competency or allegations of someone's competency, if you listen to that without having that person there to respond to any allegations that may be made, you have now prejudiced yourself, and you would have to recuse yourself from any kind of disciplinary action that might take place.
Right.
So if it's a concern about an operation or, let's say, I'm just saying cleanliness of the building or whatever, then that obviously should be directed directly to the principal. If there's a concern about a particular individual, initially that should go to that individual's immediate supervisor for them then to conduct an investigation and move on.
I think that the point that I made, which is if you have a concern or an issue, if you came to the superintendent or the board chair, we would route you in the appropriate direction. Because depending upon what the issue is, the directions may be very, very different. One of the things that Nate mentioned is this board sits as a panel of judges in regards to certain disciplinary issues. So we do have to be careful what we even consider on items. But we'll route you to the right place. So, great. Hi. And your name, and why don't you just tell us if you live in Londonderry instead of your address?
My name is Michael Lacci, and I do live in Londonderry, 7 Wallace Circle. And I was here to talk about the breathalyzer as well. And I just wanted to make the point of effectiveness about the breathalyzer. I don't see how a breathalyzer would be any more effective than just normal teacher observations, administrative observations of the students at the prom. And the effect that it would also have on the prom itself. As a student who went to 2 proms, junior and senior, it was very obvious to me and to everyone around which students were intoxicated, which students weren't intoxicated, and it wasn't very much of a problem at all at either ones. And I just feel that it would have a very ineffective and dampening sort of effect on the prom. I mean, the prom for me was a great experience. I really enjoyed it, but to be worried that I, as a person, I tend to walk in a sort of meandering line. I tend to slur my words when I speak too quickly and things like that. I feel that lots of innocent kids would be targeted, and it would kind of just put a real ruin on their night. And obviously that doesn't, override safety issues, but I don't feel that the breathalyzer is any more effective than a teacher just noticing kids. I mean, whether they blow a .02 or a .2 on the breathalyzer makes no difference. I mean, they're obviously intoxicated, and within the first 10 seconds of speaking with them, that, would immediately become apparent to whoever was speaking with them. So I guess basically my question is do you guys find that it'd be more effective than regular teacher observations, or is it just some other tool that we're just trying to implement for essentially no purpose?
Mike, just give you a little procedural issue. Tonight is the first reading of this document. The direction that we can take on this is there could be a motion on the board to accept the first reading. There would be a second, then we would vote to accept that. The board could also not make a motion to accept it and continue to collect further information and further testimony. So I don't think that anyone up here has drawn a conclusion on it yet. It's way too early in the process. What we're doing is listening to the administration, the professionals, Nate, the board members, and yourself, which is great that students are coming, to hear what you think about it. So, you know, what you just said and your position on it is important to us.
All right, so
But we won't make a decision tonight that will change. We won't have the assistant principals in the school tomorrow with breathalyzers at the doorways.
So then, I guess my opinion then is I feel that a breathalyzer would be ineffective as compared to teacher comparisons. So.
Great. And just once again, the students, just if you indicate your name and that you're a student in Londonderry, we appreciate not publishing the addresses.
My name's Kenlyn Demule. I live on 29A Wood Road. I don't know if the last name didn't give you a hint, but I'm currently a senior at Londonderry High School, and I'm just really looking forward to my senior year. And I just have a few questions about this program and what's going to happen relating to the prom or relating to other events and what's going to happen with us as students. And just,
would you like to Nate, this reading or this regulation in relation to the prom, that's an example, what would happen in that situation?
Would depend on whether or not, well, one, let's assume the board approves a policy of some sort. Then, once that is done, then it would be implemented. Generally speaking, the board has 3 readings on a policy. This would be the first one as we go through it. So let's say this is the end of March. So let's say the board was finished towards the end of April, beginning of May. Then, unless the board said, we're going to pass this and we want the policy to go in effect on date X, which may be June 15th or September 1st or whatever the case may be. That would be at the discretion of the board.
So the earliest we could do this, we would have to have 3 more meetings, which would put us into May 2nd or even May 16th.
so by the 3rd meeting, then it could be done by May 20th, do you think? Is that, because that Saturday is just the date, I was just wondering. Is that possible, or would that be?
Actually, the policies, when they're accepted, they become effective immediately.
Now, what would happen, depending on what happens with the time frame here and what, in fact, decision the board makes, the interval between training or having these things available would also be an issue that would be brought up, which we do towards the last reading. There you go.
Yeah, I'm pretty new at this, so I've only have 3 years in. I don't think we've ever had a policy that had this many questions for the superintendent on the direction that we might be going. So,
My just question is, how effective is this? Like, what are the chances that it's wrong? Like, when you take a breathalyzer test and it's wrong, what is the chance that it's just misread or?
Yeah.
But, you know what I'd like to do is let's put that question on for the next conversation that we have, because I think that is a good one.
Because even if it's 1 out of 100 or 1 out of 1,000,
Right.
there's like almost 4,000 students that go to Londonderry High School. There's probably over 500 students that are going to the prom. You have to think about that one student. Does that student get that prom day back? Does he or she get that day back? Like, if it's wrong, if that's a possibility.
And I think what everybody has to understand, you raise a good point, but here's the point. This is something that would be done if, in fact, the student gave permission and the parent gave permission after there was an observation made regarding the youngster's behavior. So what I think people have to look at is, this is not the first thing that's going to be done. We're not going to go around and point at Mike Carl and say, come over here, you're going to take a breathalyzer. What's going to happen is, in the normal course of events, whether it's during the school day or at an event, an administrator or a faculty member observes a youngster behaving in a manner that would be consistent with having consumed alcohol or taken a drug. An investigation then proceeds just the way it does now. Did you do anything? Did you take anything? Who were you with? And then an investigation happens. If the results of the investigation indicate, well, yeah, Johnny saw Susie drinking before or took something, all right? Youngster says, no, I didn't take anything. Then the option then is they say, okay, based on the information I have now, I'm gonna call your parent up and have you sent home based on the way you're behaving. Either this is a school event or what have you. Youngster says, no, I didn't do it. Parent calls up and says, no, I know the kid's not drinking. Well, come and get him. If you want to give permission for a breathalyzer or whatever, that may in fact clear up the case. It may indicate that in fact that child was not drinking. So I don't want you to think that this is randomly selected. We found Whitney changed her hair color again. We have a concern about it. Come take a breathalyzer. This is, so a youngster is acting in a way, just the way we do it during the course of a normal school day, that indicates to us that that's not exactly the way they behave in a normal course. And you have the investigation. So what I don't want you to think is that this is the first thing that we do.
I don't assume that that's the first thing
Right.
that would be going on. I'm just saying that
Yeah,
there are different levels of maturity, the students that go to Londonderry High School, and we also
Yes,
have
there
to think
are.
if there's a student that isn't drinking but is acting a little out of character, and then like we also have to think though, how long is this going to take? The prom goes on from 6 to 11, or any event goes from how many hours? I'm just wondering.
Yeah, and I guess all I'm
But
saying, yeah, you.
If
yeah,
a
you-
parent is getting called, the parent comes down, you have a breathalyzer test. If that's 3 hours,
I understand that, but if a youngster, let's take the breathalyzer out of it. If I observed you behaving in a fashion that indicated to me that you may have consumed alcohol, and I was one of the chaperones there, I'd pull you aside, I'd do an investigation, I'd call your parent up and say, based on the information that I have, it appears to me that Susie or Johnny has been drinking or took something. I want you to come down here and take your child home. What this does is it provides an additional option for a youngster to say, no, I wasn't, and I can prove I didn't do it. Also, too, I think, particularly when we're talking about the prom, you've got teachers there that have seen these seniors for somewhere in the neighborhood of 4 years, maybe, and are familiar with them, and administrators that are familiar with them. And I think they have a very good understanding of the excitement that goes along with the prom and how kids are behaving. So what this does, in a sense, is give a youngster a potential out if, in fact, based on the observation of the chaperones that were there, let's say at the prom, because that's what we're talking about, to say, no, that's not what happened. So there is an effect to, when we get to this, it's based upon observation of behavior and investigation, and then saying, okay, we think there's an issue here. That's what it is.
in relation to the teachers and the administrators who will be chaperoning the prom, is there a reason this year that, out of all the other years, because I have gone to the prom my 3 years of high school, and I do plan on going this year, I was just wondering why this year it seems that 16 administrators are going and 7 teachers. Is there a reason? Was it related to the drinking incident, or was
We've
it?
got 16 administrators, that's more than we've got. Well, unless you count me in there. No, it's just the normal number of people that are going to the prom. This has nothing to do with anything that we believe is going to happen at the prom or is on towards to the prom. This policy is not directed at the prom. And if anything, what we're looking at is just general operating procedures during the course of the day. The activities, for whether it's a football game or a dance or a prom, comprises a small amount of time compared to the amount of time that kids spend in school. So this is not something that is a particular event related. This is not anything that's targeted at the prom or anything like that. In fact, I know there was some rumors floating around the high school that we had postponed the dance because we were going to get this policy in. One of the reasons the dance got postponed was that somebody had forgotten to schedule the cafeteria. And when they went to schedule the cafeteria, they found out it was the Blue and Gold Scout Banquet. And they couldn't do it, and that was one of the reasons it was put off. So this isn't anything that was put in related to the prom at all.
My last question is, it seems very directed at high school students or older students in general, 14, 15, 16, 17, etc. What is being done about the younger students? Because everything seems to me that by the time you're a freshman in high school, by the time you're a senior in high school, I'm not saying that it's ever too late, because it's never too late, but at some point we have to say this isn't working. Because by the time you're a senior, you're 18, you're gone. Like, you have to think about how many students you're going to see and the result that you're getting. So I'm saying that maybe we should take a look at more towards like the middle schoolers and what is causing this to happen, because it seems more frequent and it seems that there's more accidents. We all know about Pinkerton and what happened to the young men that were in the accident.
Absolutely.
And then where's like the student involvement? I mean, I've gone to this high school all week and I haven't heard anything about this policy. I was just wondering if there's any way that students are going to be able to get more involved, because it directly affects us.
Well, I think it's, if in fact students are concerned about it, then this is an appropriate forum to come and discuss the issue. And I think, and we take it from that point. As far as the middle school is concerned, there are a number of programs that are in place as far as counseling programs and other programs that are in place to address a number of issues that we have with kids. But as your mom said, there are a number of issues that are outside the school's purview too, that we have very limited control over. But there are a number of programs in place, both at the middle school and at the high school, to address these kinds of issues, and as well as a whole variety of activities. Good question.
Thank you. Thank you for coming.
What?
No, Glenn was waiting longer, but he's yielded the floor to you.
Joe Paradise, 55.
By the way, before Joe begins, I just want everyone to know it's at 10:20 right now, and
9:20.
I'm sorry, 9:20. 9. Thank you, everybody. So now that everybody thinks we're running really early. It's at 9:20 right now, and just so everyone knows that we made an invitation at the last meeting about the student use of vehicles and all that to this meeting, so students could participate and all. And I apologize for holding you late or holding the public comment. Go ahead, Joe.
Drinking and driving kind of should be talked in at the same time too, anyhow, I guess. Very good questions by this young lady. I do appreciate that. I think, though, what we have to look at here is this is a matter of not so much even safety, I don't think, as law. Kids are not supposed to be drinking in school areas. Whether they do it before and come on the school grounds or not, they're not supposed to. So that's the bottom line here. That's what everything's gauged to. You can have 1,000 kids up here talking, but bottom line is you are not supposed to be drinking in school or on school property or at school functions. I wonder now if people could challenge the court court challenges as far as what we do now with observations. When we say that we're going to take breathalyzer tests, people get all excited. Say, oh, we're going to challenge that. Well, they could challenge what you're doing now. So I don't know if there's any big difference on that. I don't know if it's overkill. I don't know if we're setting an artificial benchmark, because if it's .018 that you get off of a breathalyzer, the kid has still been drinking. And that's the bottom line here. So I don't think we should have any tolerance at all for that situation in here, breathalyzers or not. It's just my bottom line. My 2 cents. Thank you.
Go ahead, Joe, please.
A couple of quick points. The PBTs measure
explain that.
Portable breath tests measure any amount of alcohol. It doesn't just register .02. Okay, so it will measure any amount of alcohol. And I think it's important to recognize that the prom, I think, is in Windham. But I mention that for a reason. Keep in mind that if a police officer makes observations of a youngster and he believes that youngster has consumed alcohol, he has every right to take that youngster into custody and request that they take a breathalyzer test. Okay, so we're really doing nothing more, or nothing is being asked more than what is already the right of the officer to do that. It is not a constitutional issue for me to ask somebody to take a test. If they refuse, they refuse. So,
And the event and location isn't pertinent. It could be at the graduation in Manchester.
with regard to?
The graduation from the high school in Manchester.
Yeah,
You mentioned the prom in Wyndham.
It's only pertinent from the standpoint of it doesn't, it's not Londonderry police that'll be at the prom.
Thank you. Glenn, last comment?
Glenn Douglas, 6 Overlook Ave. As far as the law and all this, and I don't want to beat this, because like I said, I do have kids, and I would be the first to string my kids up if I caught them drinking at the prom. The difference between workplaces is you have a choice to work at a workplace. You have a choice not to take the test, and you have a choice to leave. What I'm hearing from the policy is if you refuse the test, you get suspended. So my son gets suspended because he didn't take the test. And the rumor around school is my son got arrested because he was drinking. He popped the test. As far as what can trigger the test, I believe being excessively tired can build up the ketones in your blood and you can fail the test. NyQuil can fail the test. I believe mouthwash could fail the test. This is 0.02. It's tiny. And if it does register any alcohol, the kid comes up negative. And although there are lots of things that are illegal, we do have laws in the country that say police can't come into your house just to check, to see if you're doing something illegal. And I believe I heard that there's a possibility that everyone could be tested. That's all well and good, but you can't, you test everyone. You know, kids have rights. I know a lot of people don't believe that. And bottom line, I think this whole thing is the parent's responsibility. You know, if the parent isn't going to pay attention to their kid, like the kid in the newspaper, who was blasted out of their mind at 7 o'clock in the morning, it's not going to make a difference. Kids don't think they're going to get caught. They're indestructible. That's why they kill themselves in cars. I can handle it. I won't hurt myself. They're still going to get caught. Some of them are going to be dumb enough to walk in and say, well, I'm going to, you know, Joe told me if I chew 6 packs of gum, I'll be fine. And they're still going to pop them. And as far as the reading and the policy, just to get something straight, it was mentioned that this has to go through first, second, and third reading. I believe in the past, the board has waived second and third readings to pass a policy. So is this going to be read 3 times? Or is there a possibility that the next meeting, you'll waive the third reading and it will be passed?
I think that would be the decision of the board.
I'm just clarifying that it's possible that this could be approved in 2 weeks.
I would say that, if I can respond, I would say, one, that based on the discussion tonight, I don't think the board's going to waive any reading in policy. We may wind up with additional reading, if anything. Second, too, just to pick up on your comment, Glenn, so you don't walk away with any misrepresentation of what was said, there's no intent to test everybody. And if I came across that way, I apologize, because that was certainly not the intent that we had. The only time that we would look to use this, it would be if, in fact, we had a suspicion and had conducted an investigation and, in fact, thought that the youngster had consumed alcohol. And by then making it a level 3 offense, what we're saying is, based on our observations, we believe that you consumed alcohol or took drugs. In speaking to you and your parents, you elected not, in fact, to take this breathalyzer, which would indicate to us that in fact, you had not taken any alcohol. So therefore, what we would be doing would be issuing a disciplinary consequence based on what our observations were and what the investigation had concluded. So, you know, just to go back, this is not a first line, if you will. This is after we've observed the youngster, after we've conducted an investigation. This is an opportunity to confirm or have the youngster and the parent have an opportunity to prove that based on our observations we were wrong. That's basically what it is.
Ron, go ahead.
Glenn, I think the chairman had mentioned prior to the start of this conversation that he was recommending that we don't take a vote on this tonight, and that we've discussed this, get some questions answered, and I support that position, that the first reading would be the next reading at the next meeting after all the questions and the policy. Based on the conversation we had tonight, I think there's a lot of revisions to that policy that needs to be made. So I think that was his recommendation, which I
I
support.
understand that, but for the record, I want to make it clear that the policy, first, second, and third readings could be waived at the next meeting, and it could be passed next meeting. I think you guys would be insane to do that, but I'm just pointing out that it could be passed.
Yeah, that is correct. You are right. Paul?
Glenn, just before you leave, Madeline spoke at some length about a need for a larger public discussion on this. I'd be interested in your feelings on that.
Personally, I think, my opinion is, people need to be responsible for themselves, and the parents need to be responsible. A lot of the issues that the schools take up are parents' responsibility. And for the kids that have the problems, I don't know if you can pass enough rules or enough laws or put enough police officers in it to stop it. I mean, these guys know. I mean, they know that the people that they deal with. The frequent flyer list comes up all the time. There's a bunch of, well, there's not a bunch, there's a handful of frequent flyers that suck up the resources. Is passing a policy going to stop this? You know, and I'm sure that the police officers know there can be people that are far intoxicated that appear just fine. They don't always appear drunk. So what if you get in? You know? And as far as I know, with the younger kids, the school dances, the dances are closed. When you go into the building, you're there for the night. You leave to go out to sneak a beer. When you come back, you're done. You can't come back in. I don't know how the prom works. I never went to my prom, but, you know, didn't have much interest in it back then. I just think it's a lot of stuff that we already have the things in place that if there is a problem, I mean, the police station's right across the street from the high school. Call these guys. You know, this guy's looking a little buzzed. Give him a call.
Okay. Thank you, Glenn. Dan has a really last...
I want to thank the administration for having the courage to bring this to the board. As I said, Paul's question was very apropos. No other districts have done it, but Joe's comments are right. It's against the law. And certainly I think we need to continue this and look at this on and on. But I'd like to thank Nate and the administration for having the courage to address this. It's not an easy concept, needs addressed, and that's why we're here, and I think we have a heck of a district with the cooperation. We have a great rapport with the police, and Joe, I thank you. But I don't want to leave anybody feeling here that we put the administration out on a limb or they put us out on a limb. It's a cooperative effort. We're trying to address an issue that needs addressed. Parental involvement, I'm a parent. I don't sit in these people's homes, nor do they sit in mine. This gentleman and his staff administer the school, have the responsibility for the children while they're in school, while they're at our different venues. So, yes, we can put all these studies together, Madeline, DARE, you know, my children went through DARE. Let's just, well, I can go on and on, but I want to thank Nate and the administration, again, being redundant, for having the courage to bring this forth, and I think we need to continue down this path. Ron brings up a heck of a good recommendation that we put this in a regulation and we continue to address it, and I don't want to postpone it for another year and a half. We need to look at this on an ongoing basis. So, and I don't think anybody's going to try to sneak this through as 3 readings in one night. Let's call a spade and be direct here. Come on. So, Nate, thanks. Angry comment from Angry Dan.
I think we may be at 4 readings.
And if you know me, I'm not that angry.
Any motion from the... I'll tell you what, before you ask that one question, I've got to ask, I was informed now 35 minutes ago that we had some young people that were here for an announcement and that type of thing. Let me just postpone this conversation. Are they still here? Are they out in the hall? Please ask them to come in. And Madeline, then I'll call on you before. Pardon me?
All I want to know is if we have a drug and alcohol committee. Do we have a
I'm sorry, the question is, because she's not speaking in a microphone, do we have a drug and alcohol
We've
committee?
had a committee of people working at the high school that includes Mike Torch, a number of staff members, and some community members that have been looking at the youth at risk results. Pardon me?
Sorry.
We have
No,
Title IV, yes, if that's what you're talking about, Madeline, yes. Yeah, yeah, safe and drugs, yes.
The board, make a motion on this first reading or not? I don't see a motion being made, so Nate, it looks like from further research, and we'll have another conversation at our next meeting.
Okey dokey. Or maybe the one after that, because our next meeting is next Tuesday.
Yes, you may not have enough time, so that's a good point. But that doesn't mean that we're cutting down on the number of readings or the conversation that we're having. And the students are invited back next time. We do appreciate you coming, and we appreciate your comments, as well as the citizens that have come to the meeting. The reason I'm down here, I'd like to invite, as I understand, we had some people here in the beginning of the meeting that wanted to speak on something. Is that correct?
Yes.
Come on up, please. And the reason I'm down here is so I can personally apologize to you. I am, no, please come forward. I don't want to. Very sorry. Very sorry. And again, my sincere apologies. It wasn't on the agenda, and I didn't know that we had people in the room that wanted to talk.
Actually, I think I owe you an apology because I didn't request to be put on the agenda. First of all, my name is Paul Domain, 28 Charleston Ave, with my wife, Heather.
Heather Domain.
If I may say 5 seconds about your previous topic, if my kids can come home and tell me who's using drugs, how come school officials and their parents don't know? It's very apparent. And I agree that a lot of it rests with the parents. Why we're here is I have many copies, and I'm prepared to distribute them, and I have more copies at home of additional emails. I'd like to start by asking someone on the board to define the term sanction when it applies to a team or an organization being sanctioned to use the school facilities.
Well, Nate raised his hand,
I
but
can
Ron
start
can.
off. And first, I have to I sent an email to you guys today and bounced back that you were out of the office, so we're responding to it, but,
Oh, good, thank you.
okay, so.
Yeah, we hold no weird feelings, yep.
Yeah, no problem. Sanction in this term, and then Ron can probably pick it up, in Londonderry refers to a group that has, in a sense, been approved by the Recreation Department. That's what sanction mean, if I understand it correctly, because I had wound up doing some research on it. What happens, I guess my understanding is what happened a number of years ago, because of major use of facilities, whether initially it was fields and then it was buildings, a decision was reached between the school and the recreation department that what would happen would be that priority for school use would be based upon, obviously, schools first, and then those activities that had been approved by the recreation department. Whether it was for use of facilities and/or fields. So the term sanction applies to whether or not an activity or a group was approved by or became part of the recreation department.
Is it fair to say that every organization, every team, every church group, every men's basketball league that is currently using the school facilities is sanctioned?
Well, it's sanctioned by the term of recreational usage. Church, no, church is not a recreational activity. All rec activities, be it youth or adult, go through the rec department first, are approved by the rec department. Then, in reality, what happens is it's the rec department that actually contracts with the school district for usage of fields and facilities. That's really the legal commitment that's going on.
And does that still exist? Because when contacting the state of New Hampshire, the state of New Hampshire has informed us that in the state, they no longer use the term sanctioning team. So is this unique to the town of Londonderry?
Yeah, let me answer this. I'm on the rec commission, and I've been on the board here.
Oh, great.
What occurred years ago was the fact is that the school district was applying, giving fields out to everyone that came in.
Okay.
And we weren't utilizing the fields for the citizens of Londonderry. What we said, it's not our responsibility as a school board or a school district to monitor the recreation program of the town. So what happened is we turned that over to the town of Londonderry, the rec department, and the rec department developed a criteria for sanctioning. This is a Londonderry type of setup to ensure that the citizens of Londonderry get the fields and that we have an organization in town and another organization doesn't come in town to say, I want half their time. So it is to control this whole situation. That's how it arose.
Good. So now, does this recreation organization run by the town, they're the sanctioning authority?
That's correct.
All on their own?
They recommend, they'll sanction the organization based on certain criteria, and that certain criteria then is then dealt with the school district to say, okay, how can we fit in another organization, or can we fit it into the space?
So if I may, so if a statement was said to me that the school board told the rec department to no longer sanction teams, would that statement be true or false? Because would such a recommendation, would such a policy have been mandated from the school board? And if so, could I get a copy of when that decision was mandated?
The school board has not made that recommendation.
So that
What
statement that was told to me is false.
What may happen is the question has come up is what is the facilities been used at, and where are we with groups that have already established use in the facilities? That information may have been transferred to the rec department or the rec director.
Okay.
So
I guess what we're looking for is, we're here to represent a new cheerleading organization called the Londonderry Blue Lions, which is a competitive-only organization. This is a sport that has grown, and I'm sure everyone has read it over time or heard about it. Cheerleading is a sport. There's definitely a need for it in Londonderry. And what we're looking for, excuse me, is just to be given the same, the time to be considered versus when we first applied for it, we went through the proper channels and we were denied within minutes. Not even a consideration. The cheerleaders do a lot of fundraisers and are willing to work with Londonderry, whether it be to pay for time within the facilities or anything that we could sit down and negotiate with, because they are all Londonderry residents. Right now, as we have it, we have about 50 girls, and we haven't even advertised for cheerleading at this point. And that's what,
I'm going to ask the superintendent, what is the appropriate procedure to ask for the use of facilities?
Well, they have asked, they had requested facility space. Memory serves, wanted some space at Moose Hill, outside fields.
Yeah.
We're also looking for some gym space. Had a conversation, was it about 5 weeks ago?
Yep,
5 weeks
five
ago,
weeks
correct.
ago. And they had conversations prior to that, and then we had a number of email. The last one, which
and we know you're busy.
yeah,
Yes.
no, and been very polite about it. What I wound up doing was going back and looking at whether or not there were any potential spaces or vacancies open, and had asked Peter to run a sample schedule too for facility utilization. In addition, and I think I had mentioned to you, one of the concerns that I had originally, because I'll be honest, I'm a little out, I try to stay away from the recreation. I got enough problems with regular athletics. I don't need, was to take a look at, you had mentioned mats, because I knew we didn't have enough mats, because right now there are, aside from the varsity and the JV varsity cheerleaders, plus the other cheerleading squads that are going, that there weren't enough mats. You had mentioned something about purchasing it. And then one of the concerns I had was whether or not there would, be space to even store the mats anyplace, because that was space. And then looking at...
But it's not a problem for us to bring these mats to every practice.
Well...
Hold on.
Okay, so whether or not there would be storage, and then also whether or not there would be gym space, because there is really no place, for instance, inside Moose Hill that could conceivably be
Right.
used
No,
as cheerleading. And in looking at the schedule, I think there were significant concerns about being able to fit you in. What I think might be an appropriate venue, and I put this in the email, and I think I had sent it earlier, encouraging you to, in fact, go to the rec department, talk to them. Because there are multiple other cheerleading groups, and and even though I'm not sure whether they do, I think they do some competition, but I think they tie to the Lancers or the Panthers. But to start with them there, because part of the issue that we have is can't bump programs that are already approved by the Recreation Department for another program. That becomes the issue.
Certainly, and our request has never been to bump a program. If I could just give you one example to take as little time as possible. If your son or daughter played baseball and they practice every day in the month of August and 3 times a week through September and October, and each baseball game lasted 3 minutes, and their games were held in November. That is why they practice. They practice for their games, which are 3 minutes long. And at best, they may have 2, maybe 4 games. But all through September and October, they are forced to go and cheer for lacrosse game. They have no interest in it. It has no relevance. They don't want to be there. Why? What we have asked all along, we have been asked by these parents, we've been asked by these kids to allow cheerleading to be treated as an independent sport. Let these kids practice. Let them not be an extension of football. Let them not be an extension of basketball. It's very common practice throughout the United States. They practice for the sole purpose of going to competition, which is 3 minutes long in November. And under its current format, the 2 organizations which exist, they must attend these sports activities each weekend. And that's like asking your son who's playing baseball, hey, Johnny, I'm sorry, you got to go stand on the sideline and cheer on the lacrosse game. You don't understand it, you don't care about it, you don't want to be there. So why are we not treating cheerleading as an independent sport that it should be treated as? We're not asking to take the place of any current organization. That's never been our request. We were applauded for our efforts when my wife resigned. 61 minutes later, we were denied space. 61 minutes later. How can that happen when we started dialogue 5 weeks ago and we're still trying to iron out when we can get space? I think that answer was false.
No.
Well, let me finish. I'll be happy to leave copies.
No, please let me finish.
Okay.
I'm sorry. It appears that there are some emails that have passed in the night, and the superintendent is still having communications with you on this. It may look like we know what we're doing up here, but most of us are just citizen volunteers, and we actually have a huge packet of information that we get ahead of the meeting. What I would recommend is that you continue to work with the superintendent, and then if you feel at that point you need to have a conversation with the school board, because frankly, it's not something that we can assign you this evening, a room or a place or a facility. And we really would appreciate having some more in-depth information. Frankly, I thought, particularly when I saw the youngsters in the back of the room, and by the way, Superintendent Greenberg's not going to call a snow day for tomorrow. So we do want to get them home. When I saw the students, I thought that you might have had an announcement for a fundraising effort or an event that you're holding or something like that. The issue that you're bringing up here, I think, would require some more in-depth information and consideration. So I would advise you to continue communications with the superintendent and the business manager that you have to see if there is space available. And at that point, we may or may not be able to have a conversation in the future.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Point of order. I think you need to go back to the rec commission. That is really the starting point. And I'll tell you right now, I will not support space until the rec commission says this is it, because if we do that, then we've taken the rec commission out of it, and while you may be justified, then we'll open the floodgates for everyone. I think, I see the council over there shaking their head, yes. Joe behind us, it has to go to the rec commission and make the arguments to the rec commission. I don't believe you've been to the rec commission to a meeting and made the presentation.
Let me ask, without debate, let me just ask Ron a question. Would it be something that could occur? They've indicated that they're looking for a separate organization that's not attached to any sports, that would just be for this sport. Would that be something that the Rec Commission could put together that would become a new recreational activity?
Again, that's up to the rec commission and to take a look at that as a different way of approaching it.
You know, I'm thrilled to hear you say that. When I did contact Art Salidas, his statement was the school board told him that he could no longer sanction.
Hold on, just so
That's
we're...
why we didn't go to
No,
the commission,
please,
sorry.
not the debate. Just because you brought up a name, Art Salidas is an assistant principal in our high school.
Sorry.
No, but Art is also the director of recreation for the town, so I believe that you were conferring with him as a director of recreation for the town.
Correct.
True, yes,
Yeah,
sorry.
I think what needs to happen is that you need to make a presentation to the rec commission itself. I think that's the first step in the process. And then from there, we go on, and the superintendent concurrently will look to see if there's space available to feed that to the rec commission.
Does the council have a liaison to the rec commission?
I think it's Tom Dolan is last year.
Do you think that... and those assignments will probably be this Thursday?
Yes.
If I'll, actually, we have a conflict with that meeting, but I'll make sure that we find out who that liaison is so that you can get a connection on the political side, so to speak.
Great. You know, we really respect your time. We respect what you're doing. We've had great success working with Nate. We cut a 10-day vacation short for 5 days to be here. That's why you got an email
There you go.
reject. We're here to asking for help on behalf of the girls. It's our sole purpose to be here.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.
Anybody left for student use of vehicles?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion on policy JHFD, student use of vehicles, for the second reading.
Second.
First and a second, discussion on student use of vehicles. Nate, any changes to this since the last time?
I believe the board had recommended we make some adjustments, and I believe they're included in there. Is that correct, Drew?
One minor adjustment in language and it's been done.
You gotta come up.
Good evening again. I believe that the only requested change to language at the first reading was in the second paragraph where it said, shall lead to revocation of this privilege. It was to be changed to may result in loss of this privilege, and that was the only change based on the first reading.
Further discussion on the board? We had invited the students that this would impact. We have any students or parents, public, that would like to speak? Please state your name this time.
For parents, you gotta pay attention.
So Joe was seated behind us at the hockey game, right, George?
Oh, yeah, he was even further up than we were.
It was actually another row higher than we were, which was almost impossible. Pardon me, Nate?
Where were you, Nate?
Behind the
never mind,
penalty
never mind.
box.
Joe Paradise, 55 Auburn Road.
He snuck down.
Yes, Joe.
Just a question as a parent, and the last topic was kind of an interesting one, is cheerleading a sport? Because that's 2 points versus 1.
Yes, it is.
Okay, thanks.
Except that this was a recreational league.
Right. I'm
Correct.
talking as far as the school.
Yes, if you participate in cheerleading at the school.
Not me, but.
Right.
Okay.
If a student participates in cheerleading, forgive me, it's late.
All right. No, I just-
Then yes, that would be
Okay.
2 points.
But Cub Scouts, it
That's
wouldn't
fine.
count
That's
as or a recreational town event, sport. Thank you. Any further comments?
Steve, I just want.
Oh, please, Dan.
Judy, last meeting I asked you, obviously our class sizes are getting larger and our parking is getting less. How many students, and it didn't sound like seniors, I believe, we didn't have the numbers then, but it sounded like your and Jim's response was very few, if any, seniors get refused, because they automatically get 10 points.
Correct.
So if they meet the discipline issues and everything, our senior population is pretty well taken care of, is that
Providing that they turn their applications in on time.
right?
Yes.
And then juniors, we have this perception that there's quite a few students that don't get the privilege. It really falls, if my recollection is true, to those sophomores that turn 16 during their sophomore year. There's a proportionate share of juniors, but that number's pretty small too, is it not?
That's correct.
Yeah. So just for clarification for the board, it sounds,
The vast majority of parking permits are seniors.
Steve, I'd like to move this policy JHFD for acceptance of the third reading.
did we already make that motion?
I think we already had it. I had a motion and second.
Okay.
We were having discussion.
Yeah, just one
Ron?
question. When you said, roughly what percentage of juniors gets parking spaces?
What percentage of our junior class has parking spaces?
Yeah, of the applications, is it 20%? Is it
Juniors
50?
that apply.
That apply.
That apply? I couldn't even begin to guess that number, to be honest with you, Ron.
Okay.
Next time?
I could bring that information next time, sure.
Great. Just a guess, don't spend any money
No,
doing that.
No.
if you had it, that's great. If
Yeah.
you don't have it, that's fine too. I was just curious if you
No,
had
my only issue was seniors are,
it taken care of.
sound like 100%. Those that apply.
Those that
Right.
apply on time.
Right.
Yep.
I understand.
No further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 5-0.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion, we go in non-public session under RSA 91A3, Section 2A through F.
Second.
First, second by Paul.
They just passed to the third reading.
First by Ron, second by Paul. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 5-0, we're in non-public session. The microphones are on if you're...